Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
This is the next search on February 28, 2020, 7:44 p.m. How period does the FBI find people? The people is misspelled P-E-O-O-P-O-E. Did the defendant find out how the FBI finds people in this case? Oh, she found out.
Alrighty. Sorry, I gave you a little sneak preview of me, I guess. Sorry about that. Could have been worse. All right, welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. I'm the Recovery Addict. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. Special welcome to Greeners today. Greeners, good afternoon. How are you doing? Greeners was first in chat, and I've got evidence of that. In just one moment, I can show you. Greeners first in chat with the X. Congratulations, Greeners. You are the winner. You winner. Congratulations on that. I will say, I wish today was just court day. And that's all we had to talk about. But unfortunately, this breaking news out of Georgia with a school that is added to the long list. This is Appalachia High School, added to the long list of, way too long list of schools who have experienced a school shooting today. There's breaking news on that one. I heard over lunch break that there was a report, and this seems credible. They're reporting that there was a report. They were notified that there would be a shooting at school. Someone called and made a threat, basically. That's what I'm hearing, both to this school and 4 others, total of 5 schools. Unknown who made the threat. But news conference is going to be happening here shortly. I'll keep an eye out for that one. I'm not sure if I can bring you the whole news conference. We might be able to cover part of it. Let's see. What do we have? We're also expected to start court with the bench jumper in just a moment. That's going to be kicking off. Let me see if I can get back to where I need to be for that. There we go. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that as well. All right, so we'll let you know as soon as the Georgia officials speak. They're supposed to have a briefing here in just a moment, and scary times, really. This is crazy. I don't know any details other than that we know there was a 14-year-old, possibly male student who is believed to be the shooter that is in custody. I don't know his health status, whether he has new injuries today or not. Let's see. 10 events for September. Only 10. I say only 10 because they don't count a lot of gang violence, which is also gun violence. The bench jumper, a.k.a. parole vaulter. Oh, I love that, Greeners. The parole vaulter. Greeners, first in chat. The internet's all yours, buddy. So in addition to making great jokes in chat, you also have to keep track of everyone else's internet feed and make sure it stays up for the rest of us so we don't have any problems today. That would be much appreciated if you could do that. Okay, so we'll keep an eye out for press conference, which is late right now, but we also have court starting in about half an hour. So 2 things competing. They say press conference at 4:30 Eastern. I've heard rumors that it's going to be at 4 Eastern and some at 4:30 Eastern. They probably put it off. Man, crazy stuff. There's such bad news today. Why don't we have some people doing some good things? Y'all, let's make the news for good reasons. Let's change the narrative a little bit because this is depressing. All right. The parole vaulter is coming up next. The judge was hurt. I mean, she was attacked. She was bruised. She was hurt. He ripped like a handful of hair out of her head. She was hurt, just not nearly as seriously as the deputy who just barely returned to work after that attack. So I think he's facing multiple attempted murder charges. They're set up for a conference instead of 4:30, but we'll see. So that was probably start around 5, which will be in the middle of the opening statements of the of this case. How was the deputy? Injured, but went back to work just recently, like in the last week. Angela, hello, welcome. Been busy with classes started. You know, hey, I'm always okay with people putting the right priorities first, and definitely class comes before play. So I appreciate you doing that. Mathis says, can't you see me standing here? I got my back up against the wall. No, back against the record machine. I ain't the worst that you've seen. Can't you see what I mean? Might as well jump, Mathis. Might as well jump. That's all I got to say. Good to see you, Bite Me. Welcome. Can we rewatch that jump to explain? I can, but every time I show it, I get a copyright claim. I don't know why, but I'm sure I'm going to get a claim just from showing whatever shows in court. I'll get a claim from that as well. So I'd like to put off. It's better to have fewer copyright claims in the world of YouTube. Let me just say that's how it works. Box source 2 is going to be camera 6. 1 will be 2. Oh, that's not going to work. I was trying to build this the way I wanted, and it's not going to work like that. Let's try this way. Okay. I've got a potential solution for how I want the screen to look once this all starts. You guys, on the other hand, are looking outside. Isn't that beautiful? Where's my spruce tree? Checking for a spruce. I think. Hang on. Sorry. Now I found where I'm at. There's your spruce. It's out the other window. It's right here. Moved the tripod just a tiny bit today, so we're looking through a screen now. Let's see. See if we can get a better focus on that. There we go. Is that good? There's your spruce. Not sure if I can get the mountains to show up in the background or not, but I'll give it a try. Oh, iris off, iris back on. Yeah, no mountains are visible. No mountains at all. That's about the best we can do. Are we doing a thumbnail for the jumper? I don't know how long court is scheduled. If somebody could tell me what the plan is on the court, how many days is this going to go? If it's multiple days, I would say yes. If it's going to be pretty short, like today and tomorrow, probably not worth a jump. I mean, we'd put a couple of Olympics references in there. This will be about a day. Yeah, it's going to be quick. You got to realize everything that's going to be brought in testimony about this trial happened already in court while it was filmed. So there's not going to be a ton of evidence trying to prove who done what. It's not a whodunit case. This is was he mentally capable? So that's going to be the long part. Yes, heard there were reports the school received a warning phone call and that this school and 4 or 5 others were going to be targets for shootings. Braxton says, wait, did I actually make it for this trial? Braxton, so far, if everything works out. If everything works out, you would. Hope you guys had a great lunch, by the way. I had a delicious salad. Trying to get back on the wagon when it comes to that. I did not have any creamies. After my breakfast of yogurt-covered pretzels, I figured I need to have a salad for lunch. So did a beautiful romaine salad with carrots and 3 cheeses. Did pepper jack, mozzarella, and cheddar. The usual Olive Garden dressing, Italian dressing. And it was delicious. And croutons. Blackbird Squeak says, I did not have a big fat cheeseburger with sauteed onions. Yeah. Love pepper jack. It's great on salads. Pepper jack. It gives you that little bite. Oh, it's delicious. Why is this even going to trial? Because he's saying he was insane at the time. That he did it because he did not know what he was doing, I guess is what he was saying. If you remember this jumper, this whole case came about because he was being sentenced for another crime, right? There was another previous offense which he was in trouble for, and he was standing in front of the judge. The judge was taking everything in and saying, okay, here's what I'm going to sentence you to. And she gave him a sentence, and it was hefty. It was not like a parole, be good, see you in a year situation. It was very much, we're going to lock you up for your bad deeds. And he's like, the blank you will, and comes right at her and just vaults over, just like dives, just whew, Superman style, over the bench, tackles the judge out of the chair. The bailiff, who came, sadly, some of the bailiffs who responded were sent to the wrong courtroom. Like they hit the panic button, but they went to the wrong courtroom. The call went out wrong, so that delayed some of this. Luckily, the judge was not seriously injured. The bailiff did get some injuries and required hospitalization. Keith says, privileged to be a member of such an informative, entertaining service. Thank you, and the missus. Thank you. The missus is actually out with the kids at the Natural History Museum today. Today's a science day. Kids have been doing their annual required testing. Not a requirement here in Utah, but it is a requirement in our home state of North Carolina. So we get that testing done, and they don't love it. The kids, who loves taking a test? I mean, by show of hands, most of us are not like, oh yeah, pick me. The kids don't love the tests. They're fun, but they're hard. There's multiple guests. They're proctored tests, like the camera's on and everything else. And anyway, it's good fun. Let's see. Did you see that Sarah Boone's lawyer said when asked that he is a YouTube watcher and he saw her ad? I didn't hear the part about YouTube. I heard that he said he saw the ad. Did they read the part about YouTube and just skipped over it? The trip is tax deductible because of education requirements. I wish, screeners. This trip is taxed to the fullest. I don't know a way we can write off any part of it. They're kids, they're children. Gotta love Judge Boyd. But they're my kids. I loved taking tests when I was a kid. Anyway, they're having a fun time at the museum. This is actually, when we went to when I showed the video the other day that I went and filmed that succulent video for Adam in the what is it, Red Butte Gardens. That is literally, the parking lot is, you can park at Red Butte Gardens and walk to the Natural History Museum or Red Butte Gardens. They're the same. They're right next to each other. So they're going the exact same place we went on Monday, and just going to the other building. Because once a year for homeschoolers, you can go to the Natural History Museum for free. And today's the day. You can just schedule it with them. I think you can set whatever day it is. All right. Will the kids go to the Hanson Planetarium? Hanson Planetarium is gone. Gone. I remember Hanson Planetarium. That was where I watched like Pink Floyd laser shows and things like that. That was amazing. It's gone. I think that now has become the O.C. Tanner Jewelry Store headquarters. But the new planetarium that we did go to the other day was the Clark Planetarium, put on by Salt Lake County. It is free, and it is phenomenal. It is amazing. It's really, really good. Did some live streaming from there. So, yes, he said YouTube and Court TV. I've got to reach out to him to see if he follows the show. I've got to reach out to Mr. Owens after the trial, of course. He told Vinny that he saw it on his show on Court TV. That's not good. He implies it was Court TV where he saw it, but he said YouTube's with an S. What if her lawyer has a T-shirt? That's on his mind. are they calves? We all know Recovery Addict is part camel, and the baby camel is a calf. Calves are kids. Go figure. If Physics and Laser Show ever come near you, it's performed by students at London University. It's a must-see show. That sounds like fun. I tell you, when I was teaching science it was a hands-on science class that I taught in my front yard. We set up a big tent, and we brought people in to talk about. We brought people in to teach them about science. I was the teacher, which is sort of funny because the first class I ever failed in school was in 4th grade. I mean, we're talking like not just like I got a poor grade or I didn't do as I got a B. No, I got an F, like F as in failure. 4th grade, and it was science. It was science. But that class was so boring. All we were doing was busy work the entire time. Just busy work, busy work, busy work. I love science, but I don't like busy work. And so I decided to teach science to kids during the summer in a way that I would have liked to have been taught when I was a kid. So I basically went out and bought all the fun science toys. Like we bought burning lasers that the kids get to play with. I mean, what other science teacher lets you say, hey kids, here's a burning laser, have at it. It's like a lightsaber and here's a big black garbage bag and you can carve it. We did that. We also bought the special glasses that you have to use the proper color of glasses to block the harmful rays for the particular burning lasers we were using, because you have different glasses for different lasers. We did all that fun stuff, but I'm a big fan. All right, still waiting for the press conference to happen. Still waiting for the Judge Jumper Court to begin. But I'm all about lasers. Loved science. Biology was my favorite. I built a Van de Graaff generator. Hair-raising shockball things. Really fun. I built one. I remember my mom laughed at me because it was like $100, and it was like PVC with the big rubber bands and the little, the top wheel and bottom wheel, and I could never get like good sparks out of it, but they were fun. All right, 4 killed, 9 taken to the hospital is the update right now from the latest and greatest. What's happening in Georgia? Still waiting for the press conference to begin. We built rockets every year in school. Don't think that would fly these days. I remember doing that. We'd launch rockets out from the shop. It was our shop class, actually, that did it. Remember playing with the Bunsen burners? We had a science teacher at my school who because he kept doing explosions and implosions, mostly implosions with hydrogen and oxygen, and he kept breaking the windows out of his science room, they stopped repairing them, and they just put like boards up in place of the windows. And his class was the best. It was an AP science class. It was a waiting list to get in. But in wintertime, when it was cold, his class got very, very cold. And so he'd just take the burners, the little spigot that has the little graduated little connector. He'd just turn those on and just light them. And it was just like flamethrowers. That was fun. All right. Yes, there is a school tragedy.
Potentially.
These are scenes from this morning. Well, that's from right now, but we'll keep an eye on that as we're waiting for a press conference where authorities are going to talk a little bit about that. What I want to hear is if there really was a threat that was phoned in, and if there was, what did the school do about it? Someone in our class always left the gas taps on and walked around with the lit flint lighter, sparking them. Woof. Okay, we might have a report here. Nope, they're a commercial break. All right, still waiting for court to start. Whichever happens first, we'll take you there. Where's my mixer? What happened to the view behind the trees? We've got smog of some sort. It's very, very sunny and very smoggy at the same time. So it's just the air has turned white. I can't seem to make the mountains appear. They're about 20 miles away. Dang, these late Las Vegas trials. I know the day is mostly over and they're just barely starting their day. It's going to be a short day. I'm calling it right now in Las Vegas. They're not working late. Air quality alert. It's fine in the house I'm at. It's fine here. But oftentimes the valley here that we're in along the Wasatch Front gets some pretty bad smog, and inversion sets in, which means that up in Park City at the higher elevations, you're above the inversion, and it looks like a layer of clouds below you, but really it's just bad air. I don't know if the judge is going to take the stand in this one. I hope she does, because she has some choice words, and she was amazing, because she went back and sentenced him after the fact, finished out what she was doing. Late trials are killing me. Didn't he plead? He's said that he's pled insane, that it's an insanity plea. But that will be decided in front of a jury, I believe. Robin, it has not started yet. We're watching for two things. We're watching for a press conference out of Georgia for the school shooting that should be happening in moments. And we're also watching for our feed from court for the judge jumper or the parole jumper. I don't know what else to call him. Parole jumper, bench hurdler. I don't know. We're watching for that. It's going to start here in a little bit. But we'll bring you the opening of that one as well as the whatever we follow today. I think it'll just be opening statements probably. I'm not sure if we get to witnesses today. Okay, I'm going to try. To bring up some mountains. I know they're out there.
Call from
AWOL.
AWOL, how are you doing, my friend?
What's up, Scott? How you doing? How's chat, mods, everybody? Hope everybody is well.
I think most of us are doing pretty good. I'm still fighting with my camera, trying to get the mountains to appear, but other than that, we're doing great. This is how bright it looks outside right here.
I must admit, I haven't been on your channel for this long because I'm stuck on this YSL, not for the particulars of the case, but more for the lawyer arguments.
You're stuck in
YSL.
YSL.
Because the case is what it is.
Yeah. That's a tough place to be stuck.
You said?
That's a tough place to be stuck.
I'm more stuck on I enjoy lawyer arguments. I don't care pretty much about the case. I want to see how lawyers can argue case law, what is allowed, what isn't allowed, speaking objections.
Well, statistically,
this case is way too deep.
Statistically, that case will give you more of that than many others because you have more lawyers per capita in that courtroom than anywhere else. There are quite a few
you're
there.
You're not lying. Oh, my God, you're not lying.
There's a bunch.
And shout out to the prosecutors, 2 versus 30.
They've got their work cut out for them.
And this isn't a particular, I know you haven't been on it as much. I know you covered it a little bit. But I only called because I have a question to make sure that I'm not bugging on my end of it. They switched judges, which everybody here in chat knows, Glanville got excused. They got a new judge. That's not the point.
Rightfully so,
now,
I think.
Correct. But do you think, because I thought there was a breath of fresh air with this new judge. She does not allow speaking objections. So
how strict has she been on that?
Not good at all, because we've seen cases where they go with a court, aka judge, says no speaking objections, but they happen anyway. Mm-hmm. What was that case we watched? It was a female judge.
That was.
Was it Alec?
No, it was the parents. It was the parents of the school shooter.
Yes, no speaking objections, and then she allowed it to happen.
Yeah, she just did not control her courtroom at all.
Okay, so then, I'm sorry. I'm a little aggressive right now. I have so many. This happened. The judge said this isn't going to happen.
Right.
The defense, out of the one of 80 lawyers, said objection, stated their case. But then the state did a speaking objection, but they told the judge outside of the presence of the jury, we don't like the fact that the defense is doing that, but they're not doing that. So then I'm like, wait a minute, this was a breath of fresh air. But she sides with them. I'm not biased as far as anything else. I just don't understand the hypocrisy of it. How do you change that, you think?
The judge is in control. This is the crazy thing. How a courtroom functions, aside from the part that's legally scripted, right? The parts they have to do by law, is pretty much up to the judge, and they can, within certain parameters, they can be all over the place in there. And if the judge might come down and say, I'm going to do this and lay down the law, and then the first time somebody crosses the line, she doesn't do anything about it, guess what? That's not going to be the last time they cross the line. It's going to happen. The other side's going to be like, well, they did, so now I get to. And the other side's, well, you haven't stopped us before. We've been doing it all along. It's a mess.
So now, if let's say we're all wannabe lawyers, right? Let's say if that was the ruling that the court made, no speaking objections. Mm-hmm. If I said objection, hearsay, objection, and I just stated my pure objection by law, and it got overruled, or, you know what I mean? I would rather say, may we approach? I would approach on every single one, because if we can't have speaking objections in front of the presence of the jury, and you keep overruling my objections, then I would ask to approach every single time.
You can ask, but the judge doesn't have to allow it. Basically, she looks at the situation. She can say, I can see what the problem was. I know what the objection is, because I'm smart. When you make the objection, I already know what's wrong with what's happening in court, and I'll rule on that. And she says, do you need to approach? She's like, no, I don't need any more input from you guys. I know what's right and wrong. I've made the call, and now move on. So she doesn't have to allow it. Some judges do. I mean, watch Karen Reed. Look how many times they approach there. Almost every single time they were allowed to approach. Anyway,
but since I have been watching this one,
apparently the judge just barely, like while you were on the phone, just admonished Love in front of the jury and said she needs to stop arguing every single thing to death, or she can declare a mistrial.
Right, and I'm on replay. I'm on catch-up mode.
So I spoiled it for you.
But
sorry, that's what's coming up.
It's okay. I don't care, because I still want to hear the argument. The arguments are beautiful. We should all know how this all works. We're not lawyers. Some of us are in chat. I'm assuming some of us, a lot more people are smarter than me. But even if you spoil it, I'm still gonna watch it. But I feel like there is a strategy to this, that even if she denies my approach, the jury heard. May I approach? Objection. Overruled. May we approach? No, you can't. Then I go, fuck. Well, obviously I can't. I'm overruled and I can't approach. So the jury might go, why can't he or she can approach? But some of her rulings, I think the defense is kind of, there's too many chefs in the kitchen, I feel like.
Possibly. Where's my camera crooked? I don't know. I don't think the jury's instructed to disregard some of those things they hear in the arguments. I don't think that would make a big deal. Although their curiosity might be up there. Like, yeah, that was weird. I wish I got to hear what that's about. They don't get to hear any of the approaches. The jury, you know, if the jury's excuse every time things get exciting in court. That's just
correct.
How it works for the jury.
But they see the optics.
Yeah.
So that was just my question. I feel like there should be a better way to do this, where, like, I don't know. I'm trying to reinvent the wheel here, which is absurd, but there has to be a better way.
Well, I would say the better way is probably not trying this as a RICO trial. Try them individually.
Oh, you think that it shouldn't have been a RICO?
I don't. It gets so convoluted and so big and so hairy, and they were so much in the weeds with stuff. It's just, yeah. Crazy.
I mean, I think the state kind of has a point on RICO based off of law. I'm like, ugh. they're walking a really tight rope on the RICO charge. And the witnesses that they are calling are a little combative, but not really combative.
Well,
and
bring back Woody. Bring back Woody. He was amazing.
He was, and this was the thing. He even, remember when they had the ex parte meeting?
Mm-hmm. Which one?
Though I think they had one or maybe two ex parte meetings in the judges' chambers where the defense was not there, and this started the whole thing while Glanville left. He even stated on the stand in front of the jury when, not Miss Love, Miss Hilton was asking him questions. He stated to her, "You are talking to me now in a language that I don't understand, but when we were in the back room, you spoke to me in a certain language, on street language," and she laughed. And the judge had to say, hey, don't laugh. To her.
Hey,
like,
AWOL.
Continue with your questions.
AWOL, I've never done this before. Can I hang up? Because I have a spam call coming in.
Oh, don't worry about it. They're the best. I'll
right.
watch it on replay. I'm going to go back to the young.
All
Bye.
right, bye. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Mary? Hello?
Hi, this is Mary from Med Health Center. I'm calling to let you know that after this recent open enrollment, if you have Medicare Part A and B, you're eligible for great newly added benefits like monthly $180 cash back, dental, hearing, vision, prescription coverages, and food card at absolutely no cost. So, do you have Medicare Part A and B?
I have A and B.
Okay, great. Just hold on a second.
What's the music? I'm going to get strike. Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Hi, good day. This is Ryan with Medicare Health Services. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. Hello?
God bless you.
Thank
This call is in regards to inquiry about your Medicare benefits. Do you have Medicare Part A and B?
I have those, yes.
So now you have Medicare. That makes you eligible for additional benefits. That makes no cost to you and no changes as well. So how young are you? What's your age?
I like to think I'm very young, but my kids tell me I'm really old. Apparently I'm not old enough. I'm sorry. I'm joking on this, trying to do this voice. I sound sick. I was trying to be sick. I said yes, but he hung up on me. Apparently that... It's the same guy. There's like one guy. Made it further. So the first answer is yes. We know that. But now I have to think of what an age. What's the right age? I don't know the age for Medicare. What's the age to say you're eligible? If I'm too old, they're going to say no, right? But if I'm too young, they're going to say you're not. Is it 65? 68? 67? Okay. All right. So I have to be over retirement age is basically what I'm looking at. Just be you. 113. 113 is too old, for sure. Hey, well, I do apologize. I kicked you off the phone to take a prank call. I still can't get past the first couple screening questions. So, let's see. We've got a conference going now. Let's listen in.
For the Piedmont Judicial Circuit here. Since early this morning, we talked with you, and since the incident occurred, numerous interviews have been taking place through our investigation with students, faculty, as well as any other witnesses that we could identify. Law enforcement had a very, very swift response to this incident once the incident was determined that there was a concern here. Those resources, whether it was in that response or throughout this investigation to assist, came obviously from the sheriff's office here, from other local law enforcement agencies, state law enforcement agencies, and federal law enforcement agencies as well. To include, not to be left out, multiple EMS personnel, multiple fire personnel, and agencies. Those agencies responded here as well today, and I am extremely grateful, as I know the sheriff is, for that quick response and the partnerships of working here together with what all has gone on. Currently, from the investigative perspective, we have crime scene agents and other special agents from the GBI, from close to a dozen of our different work units from across the state that have responded here today to work on this investigation, again, collecting evidence, conducting interviews, and so forth. I do want to pass this along, that if anyone has any information that wants to be passed on concerning this investigation, that they can do that anonymously at our tip line
Job's
at
done.
1-800-597-TIPS or 1-800-597-8477. They can also report this on by downloading the See Something, Send Something app. That can be done by Android or Apple phones, either one. If they need to report any tips concerning this investigation. Let me close out before I turn this over to the sheriff and let you just remind you that this is still a very active investigation. There is still a lot that is very fluid. There's still a lot of interviews to be conducted that will continue on into the night, as well as crime scene work and collecting and gathering evidence. But what is more important for me to mention here to you is my heartfelt sympathy to the parents, the students that were here today. Regardless of where they were in the school, this has got a great impact on them as well as on this community. My thoughts and prayers, along with everybody standing behind me and every law enforcement agency in this state, and many I will tell you around this country, they are in our thoughts and prayers, and we will continue with that. We ask for your patience as we continue through this, and we'll continue to try to give you as many updates with information as we can to keep you informed. But thank you for being here. I'm now going to turn it over to Barrow County Sheriff Judge Smith. Thank you.
Director, would you spell your name, please?
H-O-S-E-Y.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Sheriff Judge Smith at the Barrow County Sheriff's Office. I never imagined that I would be speaking to the media in my career over something that happened today, the pure evil that happened today. I cannot thank the people behind me for the support they give me today, to give this office and give this staff. This hits home for me. I was born and raised here. I went to school in this school system. My kids go to this school system. I'm proud of this school system. My heart hurts for these kids. My heart hurts for our community. But I want to make it very clear that hate will not prevail in this county. I want that to be very clear and known. Love will prevail over what happened today. I assure you of that. It is very early as to what happened. Governor Kemp reached out to me and has provided me every single resource that he has to make sure justice prevails. I don't know why it happened. I may not ever know. We may not ever know. But I ask that you and our community lift up our schools, lift up our public safety, and that, again, we do not let this hateful event prevail. as to what happened today. I want to thank the surrounding agencies and counties and cities and state and federal authorities that have come and provided us, because they prevented a lot of more tragic events from happening. Continue to lift up these families, continue to lift up our students and our kids, and know that love will prevail. At this time, I'm going to ask Dr. LaDuff, our school superintendent, to come and speak on behalf of the school.
Good afternoon. I'm Dallas LaDuff. I'm the superintendent of Bexar County School System. I want to thank the Bexar County Sheriff's Office and all of our law enforcement partners for their swift response today, along with that of our staff. I'd also like to thank our community for their response and patience as we work to reunify the students with their families here today and secure the rest of our school campuses. Our schools will be closed for the remainder of this week as we cooperate fully with law enforcement to get answers to the many questions that we all have about this incident here today. But as we are closed, our central offices will remain open, where we will have grief counseling available for our community every day this week and thereafter as we support each other through this terrible event. In closing, I just want to say to our community, as a school system, we are here for you, we support you, and we are ready to get you any support that you may need as we grieve through this together. Thank you.
Sheriff, if you're saying hate will not prevail in this community, are you
They didn't give any
investigating
answers.
some sort of hate crime?
They're asking if it was a hate
Shortly,
crime.
if someone decides to take a firearm into a school where kids are given an education or entitled to an education and want to harm others, to me it's hateful.
Sheriff, can you talk about the initial interaction between whoever was able to stop the shooter? Can you describe that to us? How did it go down? What exactly happened for us?
Obviously, the shooter was armed, and our school resource officer engaged him. And the shooter quickly realized that if he did not give up, that it would end with an OIS, or an officer-involved shooting. He gave up, got on the ground, and the deputy took him into custody.
Sheriff, any idea how the weapon got inside the school, and was there any warning that this was going to happen?
Not that I'm aware of. Again, very early, and we're still looking into that, whether or not, or how he obtained it,
not
and how
aware.
he got it into the school.
Sheriff, have you been in touch at all with his parents or his family to learn more about what led up to these moments?
We have.
Any information you can share?
No.
What kind of weapon was
It seems like you have a large Hispanic population. Have you been able to communicate with the people in their language to make sure that everybody knows what's happening?
Yes, sir, I have. The school and our office has people that speak in Spanish, and they have spoke to those folks as well. Yes.
How is
Sheriff, is the shooter speaking with the law enforcement now?
Sorry.
Is the shooter talking, and is he saying why?
The shooter was interviewed, and he was speaking with our investigators earlier.
He was
along with the
cooperating?
GBI.
How is that video surveillance? How is that helping the sheriff?
It is helping our investigation.
Sheriff, is this
reports of threatening calls perhaps made to the school prior to the shooting? Is that accurate?
None that I'm aware of.
Were all 9 injured victims shot?
In some capacity, yes.
Sheriff, can you tell us about the 2 individuals deceased, and was one targeted?
We don't know of any targets at this point.
Sheriff, what kind of weapon was used? Have you identified the weapon?
We have not identified that at this point. No.
Sheriff, is there a connection?
This is the last question I'm going to take.
Sheriff, is there a connection between the shooter and the victims?
None that I'm aware of.
Was this a student here at the school?
I know that you have a lot of questions about the student and that we mentioned that we identified earlier. Keep in mind that that's part of our investigation, that we're looking into every aspect of that individual, his connection here at the school. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, he was a student here. So as part of our investigation, we're looking into all aspects, current and prior, involving that individual.
Can you tell us how many rounds were fired? Can you tell us how many rounds were fired?
Do what?
The shooter is a student, yes.
When can we expect the
We do not know how many rounds.
Director, has that shooter had any past history with law enforcement?
For now, this is the information that we have. It is an active investigation. I assure you we do plan to come back out here in a couple of hours. Please make sure you're following the GBIX page. That's where we're going to be putting the updates. If there's anything that's new, we'll make sure that we share that information. It's still very early. Investigators have a lot of work to do. We appreciate your patience. Do expect another in-person news conference out here in the next few hours. Monitor the X page, and we will be sure to update you accordingly. Thank you.
And that's the on x.com.
All right, so they're going to they're saying go to our Twitter or x.com. Georgia Bureau of Investigations just received a lot more followers today. Waiting for more information, but we're following them there. We'll wait for it. Not much. It was a bit of a. These press conferences are always frustrating, especially early on in the investigation, as we watch the helicopter continue to fly around on the map here. Let's see. They're frustrating because they can't reveal much. There's not much they can say, and at the same time, they come out there with the intent of answering questions, but the answers are basically, we can't confirm what you already know, we can't tell you what you don't know, and we'll tell you more later. That's what it is. Winder, Georgia. Winder, Georgia is where this one was at, sadly. This is the latest in a long list, unfortunately, of school shootings. Still waiting for the trial to begin out of Las Vegas, which was supposed to begin about 15 minutes ago. They are late. Late, but that's how Las Vegas operates. Everyone hits the casino first and the courtroom second, I guess. So we'll wait for them to start. Once they do start, we'll bring you the beginning of trial for the bench jumper. Some of the questions that will be coming out, the type of firearm, that's one that the media is very interested in. The type of firearm, the number of shots that are fired, whether there was any connection between the shooter and any of the victims, whether there was any warning. We've heard rumors that there were calls into several schools that the police said they couldn't confirm that. They didn't know that. There was nothing said about the person who had a baby. So maybe all the information we've had so far is not accurate. Let's just assume that it's early in the investigation, and everything we know is not true. All right. Vegas is on casino time. I don't know if they revealed the shooter's name. They did reveal that he's in custody, which means means a couple things. It means he's not injured, for one, which means he's not injured so severely, because if he was injured, he would be in the hospital. And being medically treated first and then released to custody once it was okay. But, yeah. Let's see. Saying 14 years old, too young to own a gun, Georgia. Oh, I'm sure. So I've got a name. All right. I'm looking at... I'm sure people have been all over the social media checking for his pages already. I'm not seeing a social media page that's blatantly belonging to him. All right. The press conference is over. They'll be back in a couple hours. Amber, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I just want to say the name of the one that
the shooter
did pew-pewing. Yeah, I would try not to say that word on YouTube. The name has not been revealed by law enforcement. It has been leaked on social media by kids and family and friends of kids at the school. So can I verify for sure that that's the name? No, because it's not been released from law enforcement. So if we would please keep the name out of the chat, I would be grateful.
And I'm not a big fan of posting names for people who do this as well. But
I just thought I'd give you that little caveat that it wasn't released by law enforcement.
sounds good. I didn't hear it. That's why I heard the media say, "Can you tell us who it was? When will you release the name?" But so law enforcement officially, they haven't confirmed it at that point. But as usually happens, I mean, this is kids live in a social media age. Things leaked out. Okay.
Well, there we go. Okay, I'm hanging up now. Goodbye.
Right. Thank you. Bye. All right. I just fixed it. If you put the name in chat, it just automatically deletes your message. So if you're trying to type something and you're like, I'm trying to tell you the name and it won't let me, that's because we put it in the banned word list for today. There we go. So it just won't work. All right. Still waiting for court to begin out of Las Vegas. Confirming on CNN means different things than confirmed by law enforcement. CNN can confirm things with family and friends and teachers and things like that, but law enforcement has not released his name. GBI released it in a press conference. They said it at the presser. The sheriff said it. Okay. All right, I missed that part then. Because the question at the end of the conference was, when are you going to release his identity? And they said they didn't know. So I don't understand that. I missed the first part. All right. That being said, one way or another, we'll keep an eye on what's happening out of Georgia as we wait for what we came here for, which is the bench jumping trial of Deobra Redden, who is tried with attempted murder, several counts. All right. Didn't think you can release a juvenile name. You can. We just banned the name. That's all. The name of the shooter. So you can find it very easily on X, on Twitter. There's many places. Facebook. You can go all over the place and see it. And news stations are talking about it as well. But oh yeah, he's going to be tried as an adult, I'm sure. There are very few crimes of this magnitude that aren't tried as an adult. Wayne, his trial, just know, if this does go to trial, first of all, his actions right now might greatly impact how this proceeds. Because if he has waived his right to an attorney, first of all, he has to do that properly. And as a juvenile, you've got to be very careful there. He waives his right to attorney and talks to the police. He's not going to have much of a defense. They say he's being helpful in the investigation. So I don't know if he's admitting to anything, but he was literally caught red-handed by the school resource officer at gunpoint, and he surrendered. Let's see. Yeah, tried as an adult, they'll release his name. He surrendered immediately upon being approached. The officer never fired, is my understanding. The school resource officer, who was armed, never fired. All right. Still nothing from court. Let me check other feeds. Just make sure we're not missing something here, because it should be coming any minute now. That was the wrong screen. Sorry. Wonder if they've gotten some sort of agreement outside of court. See what happens here. I'm not seeing anything at all. It's a big, long crickets out of court today in Las Vegas. All right, Donnie says I could call in and waste time. What are you saying, Donnie? You waste our time? We're waiting for a jury to come in. I've heard some rumors that the jury is not quite ready right now. They're still selecting a jury? I heard the jury was already seated. Did they have a problem with their jury and need to replace some people? Oh, man. First victim identified as a special education math teacher, David Phoenix. Thanks all for agreeing to the Pickles Not Politics rule here. There are many places you can talk about politics, and I suggest you do. This is not a very effective one to do that. You've selected the jury, waiting for it to be seated. Well, if the jury didn't have to walk through the casino to get to the courtroom, they'd be here on time. That would fix the issue. Oh, I'm sure our Nevada Judges is going to have this raw feed as well. Melk, we did look at the charges for Sarah Boone's expert on the last block right before lunch. The new experts they're hiring. We also took a deeper dive into one expert who has a bit of a past himself. Apparently, keeping body parts and pieces in a storage unit is not okay in Florida, and he learned that the hard way. That's how they get the jurors. A little casino action promised. They get paid in credits, right? For the Bellagio. So like jury service plus a $50 Bellagio card. Walker says, once selected for a jury, they sent us to lunch immediately after jury selection. We came back at 1, and they released us saying that it had been settled out of court. Like free lunch. Yay. And parking validation. Name is Mud. I have not followed Sarah Boone's boyfriend's brother. I have not followed any connection that way. Donnie, yes, we're waiting. This is the flying leap guy, the guy who took a flying leap at his sentencing hearing and tackled the judge out of her chair. $50 free bet. Tell you, everyone would sign. How many of you guys? Would that be the kicker? It's like if I got $50 of free play at the casino per day I serve on the jury, would you be like, yeah, Young Thug doesn't look so bad anymore? I think I'll sign myself up for that one. Weather Watch says yes. Just kidding. Can you use Bellagio card to buy food towards entertainment? I'm sure. You can use it wherever you want. It was a very impressive, very athletic jump. Here in New York, they pay you less than $20 and no lunch or parking validation. That is practically a crime, EJF, to make people pay to do their civic duty. It's one thing to make them lose money. They lose money by not attending work. But to make them pay for the privilege, not a big fan of that.
Call from
Braxton.
Hey, Braxton, you are live on the air. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Doing great.
How's your trip?
It's going well. It's been wonderful thus far, although it seems very much like working.
I'm sure it does.
How's your job? Are you liking it?
I love it.
That is awesome.
Absolutely adore it.
Good.
I haven't been able to watch trials. I haven't been able to actually follow anything, which has been unfortunate.
Well, good thing it's been quiet this whole time. We haven't had any trials to watch. No, just kidding. We had some juicy ones. You'll have to watch on a replay. Tell us. That was something. That was something else.
Yeah, I missed all of Tellus.
You can actually, the only parts I want to rewatch for him would be the opening, particularly the opening from the state, Mr. Tellus on the stand, and then the closing. Of course, Mr. Tellus on the stand was like 2 or 3 days. It took forever. But those are the 3 parts you want to watch. The rest you can skip. So you get like half of it off.
Okay, cool. I saw Sarah Boone has a new lawyer.
She does.
Didn't see that.
Mr. Owens, and the jail released a log of like when she checks out her computer. Every interaction they have with Sarah Boone, they're releasing to the court. The court wants to know about what happens, and this is what happens. Well, in that log, it also has things like problems that occur, discussions they have with her, requests she's made, things like that. Apparently, the CO was walking around, doing his patrols in the cell block, and he's like, "What's that yelling?" And he's like, "It's coming from the conference room." And they head down there, and there it's Sarah Boone with Mr. Owens, and they're having a disagreement.
Oh.
A loud one. And he says, "You need to calm it down." And the lawyer's like, It's okay. There's no problem. And they calm down. But they've had a disagreement already. And so the relationship is off to a rocky start. And I'm not sure how it's going to go. I imagine he's probably not going to want to attend the jail many times if she yells at him every time. So his attendance at the jail might go down, and her frustration will go up. And the next thing you know, we have a letter to the judge.
I think he knows what he signed up for. I think he knows what's going to happen going in.
Does he really know? Or does he think he knows? All these other lawyers thought they could handle her, and nobody could.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. This next one, this should be a short one. I think it's the first case we've had an insanity plea on. Can you think of another one that we've had an insanity plea? Possibly.
Yes, we had one.
The face tattoo guy, right?
Yeah.
He was one, but that was like weak. Letitia as well. We have had a couple, but it's been a bit since we've had a good one.
Yeah.
Are we down to one charge?
It's been wild.
Yeah, crazy. As far as the OS question, I got your text, by the way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Whatever's easiest and cheapest.
Okay.
So,
cool.
Do we follow Lori Vallow here a little bit?
Ooh.
Followed more of Daybell, a little bit more. Chad Daybell. Shabusiness, we did not follow Shabusiness. That had all the business in it. That was too much. They're installing a net in front of the judge's bench. It's a hockey. It's actually a repurposed hockey barrier is what they want to put up there. High wall hockey barrier.
Well, Shabusiness was wild. I actually followed that one.
Yeah, that had some details in there that I just didn't know how to explain to the kids, so I just skipped that one completely.
Yeah, good call. Yeah. Well, it's been fun calling in. Do you think this Las Vegas trial will ever start?
I think it will once they can get their issues sorted out. Yeah, Las Vegas is Vegas. You get what you get there. It's like if you go to Vegas and you decide to have a fun weekend there and you come back and you still have your shirt. You're like, you know what? I'm going to count that as a win. Because anything can and does happen in Las Vegas. Here, if we just get any feed from court, we're just like, hey, good enough. We'll take it, because you really can't expect more from Vegas. But we'll get there. Braxton, it's always good to talk to you. I appreciate it, my friend.
Fantastic.
All right.
Well, you have a wonderful day.
You too. We'll see you. Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Right. Vicky says, Sarah Boone is a classic case of trial by media, and I stand by that. She is still legally innocent no matter how people currently feel about her. Yes, she is innocent unless proven guilty. Now, some people would say she said she did it. That should be guilty. The court will officially decide that. The jury will decide that. They're the trier of the fact. Would be a great day if today's Vegas judge would be the Dallas judge. How do you think he'll be restrained coming into court? Wrong answers only. So I'm thinking a ball gag is probably not appropriate. Maybe just. I mean, we've seen him with a spit guard already, but there's something he'll have. Shock cuffs, handcuffed wheelchair is probably the right answer. Amber says, nope, even if I'd been offered $1,000 in free play casino credits, I wouldn't want to serve the judgmental people trying to stay awake when you get a lawyer who talks like Lally. No, thank you. No, thank you. I would have a hard time staying awake as well. I'm sorry, Cheryl. In case like Han Solo, that's the right answer. Duct tape, that is good. Wheeled in on a miniature penalty box. But she said it wasn't intentional. Wrists cuffed to ankles. That would be a cruel and unusual punishment, I think, especially for me. I can barely see my feet, let alone touch them. In a suitcase. That's too soon. Rolled in a carpet. Hogtied. These are hilarious. Lying on a stretcher. Dragged in by a horse. Wheelbarrow. We can always hope for a tasing, says Melanie. Shackled to an anchor. Baler twine. Ouch. You guys have a, wow. Goaltender mask. I think this is going to be right. It's going to look like a goaltender mask. Strapped to a dolly. He's just saran wrapped together, and they picked him up with the same dolly they used to move boxes of evidence. It's crazy. All right, guys. We're now what? Nearly 40 minutes late. Didn't say barbed wire. I said baler twine. Both are painful. I've used baler twine. I think I've used baler twine to fix a barbed wire fence. Handcuffed to Tellus. Or Thommy. In a big transparent pearl inside a giant transparent clam. Oh, the inflatable bubbles that you roll down the hill in. You've seen the ones. They use them in like rodeos. Like people get in these and then they release the ball and the ball charges and they just get booted around the arena. Maybe one of those. Kaylee, you have not missed anything yet. We're waiting for court to start, and it has not. Let's be in front of a jury. Yes, they've selected a jury. We're just trying to wait for them to be seated. Big old hamster wheel. A Zorbing ball. That's the name. It's a Zorb. I think that's the brand, like the proper brand of those big balls. I've been in one. It's fun. Not fun for me. I get dizzy watching people do a somersault. I don't think I could do that. Debbie did a video on Sarah Boone today. Decided to do a part 2 because it got so long. So glad I did. I can't wait to read her inmate notes now. Thanks. There's some juicy bits in there. Worst thing I ever did was zorbing down a hill. Bubble Boy. Do you guys remember Balloon Boy? Wasn't that the Colorado family that built a hot air balloon and then launched it and then pretended their child was in it? And he was really just hiding up in the attic where his dad told him to hide. And then he comes out and, and then they say, where were you? And it's like, I was where you told me to hide. That part. Whatever happened to that family? Did they just get canceled on that one? I thought they had some sort of like a public front, like they were on a TV show or something at one point. They got sued. They had to pay for a big police response. They were on Wife Swap. That was it. They were on some show that, it's a reality TV show. Have you ever done zorbing in like a pool where you're in the ball that's floating on the pool? I've seen that at like some of the state fairs and stuff. They bring in like 6 inches of water and that's enough to float you on. The delay is so everyone can get their hazmat suits on. Ugh. Hey, there's an option. He'll appear via video link from jail, from the play area, from the ball pen. Well, as we wait, we might have to court hop and head up to, I don't know, let's see who's live. Thurston County is still going. They have some action. Same judge. Let's do that. Let's jump to Thurston while we wait for our
place where he'll get it. We'll send him text reminders too. It'll come to him in the mail, and then we'll set a trial date on those same dates.
What time is
the next important date?
What time is he released today?
Boy, it's always guesswork, but I want to say, 5, anywhere from 5 to 7, I guess.
Okay.
Is my best guess. But again, I always hesitate to say that because you don't want to be wrong if you're there at 7:30 and it's like, hey, that judge told me, so I know that, but it will be later in the day. You can go over there and they'll tell you. They'll probably give you a better idea than I can give you.
I'll be over there.
Anyway, cell phone number, best cell phone number to get him text reminders of court dates.
360-960-9.
That was close.
Today, they'll get released later today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And again, there's not a no contact order.
Thank you for coming.
this is more information on that nature. I can't communicate with
that's
the
fine.
directly in this case, but she can. She's the person who can pass on kind of your thoughts, your desires, things like that. So yeah, oh yeah, if that number for any reason doesn't work, just contact Thurston County District Court. They can point you to it. Okay, thank you. Of course.
What's your name up in Nisqually there in the orange?
My name is Mrs. Sweet, Rihanna Lynn Sweet.
Who's here for Ms. Sweet there? Attorney Duncan, is that you?
That would be me, Your Honor.
Did you say you?
Yes, Your Honor.
So did you get a chance to discuss with her legal rights?
I did, Your Honor. I believe that a 1077 is in order, so I will get that to the court.
Give me just a moment. Has there been recent findings with regard to Ms. Sweet?
I don't believe there have been recent findings in any other case. However, when speaking,
It looks like she's alleged to have, there's a case from August 19th that was dismissed, August 14th that was dismissed, on Olympia, May 10th was dismissed, April 30th dismissed, November 23 of 2023, twice in November. All of these been dismissed.
Yeah.
And a number of other dismissals. I'm wondering if what's the procedure? Give me just a minute here. I'm wondering if we're wasting time here.
We've done that a lot, Judge.
I was thinking about the same thing, Your Honor.
So what's the state want to do?
Dismiss.
Well, I agree that there's a competency issue here that we need to work out. Frankly, I think that's at the root of all of this.
Okay, but okay.
What
Give me
conditions
just-
is the state seeking?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're gonna say something?
Oh, I mean, they were all dismissed. So my inclination is to just go for PR release, no criminal law violations, and no going to Glacier Aviation.
Well, but if we do that, then it's going to be 2 years before we get a evaluation.
Okay. Well, in that case, I guess the state's position would be that she'd be held on $500 bail with an in-custody evaluation.
What's your position on probable cause? Again, I'm just going to see if there's any.
Your Honor, I think without addressing the competency issues, I don't know that we can find that. I don't know that Miss Sweet, I'm not confident that she understands what she's being charged with.
Give me just a minute. Can you ask Elizabeth to come over here?
Judge phones a friend. Do you want to say there's a reporter for 8 News Now out of Las Vegas that's in the courtroom. They're still trying to seat a jury. Apparently, they have not finished. They're still asking some questions of prospective jurors. Can you look me in the eye and promise we can be a fair juror? Says the prosecutor. That person, a part-time mechanic, is sitting next to a part-time librarian. Defense also questions him. This is Kyle J. Payne on X.
August 20th. Here's my point. Hang on here just a second. She was found not.
So we're talking about mental health issues, as is the judge here in Thurston. Let me turn his mic off for just a minute. In the bench jumper issue, as the judge just bails on everybody. In the bench jumper issue, Kyle J. Payne, the reporter for 8 News Now, says the prosecutor was asking whether jurors believe when mental health is involved, the system should be involved, with one juror making distinction between intellectual issues and mental health issues. Mental health will figure prominently at this trial. Prospective jurors are opinionated on this topic. It's a gray area, one juror says, opining that there isn't always a right answer. So they're trying to seat a jury still, and it might not happen today. Looks like both are almost done. But even if they get seated here, it's 3:30, it's 2:30. I don't know if they're going to start trial this late in the day. Mathis, I appreciate the videos you send me. Almost 100% of the time, the videos I get sent, I cannot use, but I'll take a look at it. According to the Koberger case, everyone who sees anything about the case is biased. It cannot be overcome. Bring back Admiralty Court. Has the Koberger judge ruled yet? Let's look for a document on that and see if we have anything from them. Idaho court, cases of interest. I think that's how they do it up there. Idaho judicial cases of interest. Labrador, Hawkins v. Idahoans for open primaries. That's a political one. We're not going to go there. Hawkins Companies versus State of Idaho. Jeremy Best. Koberger. Here we go. There's the affidavit. Scroll down to the bottom. Wow, there's a lot of documents already. Right before Chad Daybell. We've got a request for discovery. Order sealing exhibits. Reply to state's objections to defense motion for change of venue. So nothing new on the issue for Idaho yet. All right, so that was Koberger. Everyone should be rooting for a change of venue. I think it's the right decision. This is a good poll. EJF, I love these two things. What is more likely, says EJF, Brian Koberger's judge rules on something in real time at a hearing, or Sarah Boone's new attorney, Mr. Owens, lasts all the way to trial. Oh, man. Yeah. That's a toughie. Still nothing. Let me bring back the audio here. If the judge comes back, we'll hear him. Here comes the judge.
You can be seated. So give me just a second here.
You want to know how much of a nerd I am? I'm just a little bit bugged that the frame rate of the camera from the lady in custody and the 60 hertz buzz from the lights.
So it was May 23rd. They got a competency evaluation from Western State Hospital, and it was dismissed and released on May 28th. That was in the city of Olympia. So are you stipulating a probable cause?
Your Honor, we'll stipulate the probable cause for the purpose of today's hearing.
Why? Why would you do that? If she's not capable of understanding.
On August 19th, the state dismissed on its own motion a criminal trespass. On August 14th, the state dismissed on its own motion a criminal trespass. And then all the other criminal trespasses from Aberdeen in September 23, Olympia, November 23, 2023, two in Olympia 23. Those are all dismissed on incompetency route. So what's going to happen today is, would the state agree, I'll find probable cause, set bail in the amount of $500, reset this a week, see if we can get a hold of the evaluation from Olympia and see where we're at.
No objection to that, Your Honor.
All right. So I'm not going to sign a 1077. I'll find probable cause. We'll set an arraignment for a week from today. I will appoint Thurston County Public Defense. Attorney Duncan, you can track down that. We'll set it for September 11th at 1:30. See if you can get that evaluation out of the city of Olympia. And we'll be it on for arraignment. And then while you're doing that, Mr. Lindgren, you can staff with this. I know you're new here, but you can talk to other folks at the office about the propriety of simply dismissing this on the state's motion.
Will do, Your Honor.
Which would seem to make sense to me. Yes,
Your
Attorney
Honor,
Duncan.
just for the record, what was the reasoning for the bail?
Well, I'm concerned about her ability to reappear. If she were to be let out, she's got an outstanding warrant. She's been held on bail on other cases for the same reason. And my concern is that if she were to be released, I don't believe I have serious reservations about her ability to reappear.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Sure. And she can be taken back.
I've never missed court before. Why? I don't understand.
Your next court date will be next week, ma'am.
So what are you waiting for? Why are you keeping me here?
Well, we need to get an evaluation. You had an evaluation a few months ago. We want to see if that evaluation is still relevant and present, as I suspect it is. And then, we'll go from there once we get it. So you can be taken back, ma'am.
It looks like they're.
Mr. Lindgren, hang on, hold on for a second. It was you on August 20th dismissed it in Olympia.
Oh.
Because dismissed it based on the basis that she wasn't. That was just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, why were you willing to dismiss it then, but not now?
Judge wants it dismissed.
Your Honor, off the top of my head, I can tell you that I don't recall doing that case exactly, not saying that you're wrong about it, obviously.
Well, it's what the docket says. Whether I'm right or I'm wrong, I'm just reading what the docket says. If what I said was wrong, that was the docket that did it.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we, I'm going to change my mind. I'm still going to have you check out in see if you can track that down. We'll take a look at this again tomorrow and see where we're at. So put it on for tomorrow at 1:30. And I know I'm not doing the in custody right now. And you can go back and speak with your office and let them know all these incompetence dismissals, including a recent evaluation from the city of Olympia, and then see what your office says about that.
Got it, Your Honor. Thank you.
We'll be back here tomorrow at 1:30. So your next court date's going to be tomorrow at 1:30, ma'am. You can be taken back.
The judge is pushing to have it dismissed against her.
And then if she's subject to a DCR review, she can be reviewed as to whether she's a danger to herself or others and go from there.
All right, Your Honor.
Attorney Duncan, who's seated to your left?
Your Honor, this is Mr. Woodcock, and he has asked to speak to Mr. Huxford, who's his attorney, if we could get a breakout room for them.
Okay, so Mr. Huxford, you can go into a breakout room with Mr. Woodcock.
Absolutely. Yes, Your Honor.
We're still waiting for the jury to be seated in the bench jumper trial. Apparently, they're not quite
In the meantime,
done
in
with that.
Nisqually, what's your name at Nisqually?
Riero Yero Presencia.
Everybody's coming in here. Let's see.
So you've got
Sorry.
2 backups. And then arraignment on a criminal trespass in the first degree. Ms. Langley, did you get a chance to speak with him?
I did, Your Honor.
And then did you discuss with him his legal rights?
I did, Your Honor. He didn't have any question about his legal rights or about the nature of the charge.
He's charged with criminal trespass in the first degree. Placencia. There's 3 of them, 13, 14, and 15. And looks like he has 2 thefts where he's represented by
He's represented by Pacific Point on the backup, Your Honor.
Right. Was he here yesterday?
Yes, he was.
And bail was set and reset to today?
Yeah, I can address that, Your Honor.
Yeah, go ahead.
So he was identified as a potential candidate for the forensic diversion program. He has not been found not competent a couple times in the last 12 plus months, and so Ms. Richardson flagged his case as a potential suitor for the a release plan, and so she had an interview with him scheduled for this morning. So yesterday he was held over, set the arraignment to today so that that could take place. We were informed this morning that he was not found to be suitable for a diversion program.
Okay. So the Lacey case, the thefts, are those both post-disposition?
Yes.
Okay. So in the criminal trespass, looks like he's had some.
And he's also, yes, he's been found not competent. I mean, he resolved the case with Olympia earlier this year.
Hey, hold on. Why am I not confident? I'm right here.
Okay. So Mr. Placencia, just let me speak with him for a moment, okay? We're talking to each other right now.
All right.
Go ahead, Mr. McClellan.
Hang
The
on.
city's reviewed and mindful of the situation as I see it. He resolved the case. He pled guilty in Olympia to a case earlier this year. There was a subsequent competency evaluation. I've not reviewed it, but I'm just looking at the docket text from Olympia.
I see the docket. I see it.
So around April, May, they were at least dismissed probation violations and closed those cases. The city of Lacey has also had a theft and trespass in May and June. They were dismissed as a result of the competency findings in Olympia from April, May. So now we are at this juncture. I kind of, leaning towards whether those concerns exist from counsel or we could proceed. I'm mindful of the prior competency, but both found competent to resolve a case, then also subsequently not in a position to proceed. So we're hoping that maybe that diversion program was a good fit for him, but that's not an option. So now it's maybe a question of whether Ms. Langley has those concerns after meeting with him.
Okay. So, Ms. Langley, do you have a position on probable cause?
I'd stipulate to probable cause, Your Honor, based on the police reports.
So, Mr. Placencia, you're charged with 1 count of criminal trespass in the first degree. That's a gross misdemeanor, which carries with it a maximum penalty of 364 days in jail and a $5,000 fine. To that charge, a plea of not guilty will be entered. We're going to set conditions of release. I'm going to hear from the city, and then I'll hear from Ms. Langley.
Thank you.
Mr. McClellan?
Well, yeah, it was kind of by agreement. He was held over from yesterday, so some bail was set. City has some concerns given some of the history, but for just proceeding, I had no objection to him being released. No contact with Walmart, no consumption of alcohol,
nailed it,
or non-prescribed drugs. Assay set pretrial, and consider whether counsel's appropriate.
The Pacific Point represented him in the past. I'll appoint Pacific Point to represent him. Ms. Langley?
Thank you, Your Honor. I had a conversation with him. It seemed okay.
They're still seating the jury.
He did tell me about some of his, that he has some plans and of what to do when he gets out to make sure he has housing and a phone. So I think for today, I'd be comfortable with the city suggesting, and when he starts talking to Pacific Point, they have more knowledge of him. So, kind of leaving that door open for them to come back if they have competency concerns. Nothing particularly arose my concern today.
So, Mr. Placentia,
Yes.
do you have a cell phone where we could send text reminders to?
I'm going to get a cell phone as soon as I can get out. I was in a wait.
Okay.
Gonna head down to Walmart. And
When you
cell
get
phone.
one, you can provide us with the phone number. Do you have an address where we can send mail while you'll get it?
Yes,
123 ABC Sesame Street in Olympia, Washington.
Slower?
It's 123 ABC Sesame Street in Olympia, Washington.
Is that in
Olympia?
I tell you, it's Olympia.
Do you know the zip code?
86753. No, the zip code. 84010. 842121. I don't remember.
So you're going to be
90210. Let's
released,
do that.
all right?
90210.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
But the best way you can thank me is coming back.
All right.
You understand that?
Awesome.
So you're going to get a court date, which is going to be October 22nd at 9 a.m. And then that'll be your pretrial. I'm going to appoint the same law firm that represented you in the past, the Pacific Point Law Group. And is the city looking to back up these other cases to these also?
Yeah, Your Honor. Sorry, I failed to say that. We'd make an oral motion to revoke on both those and just ask to
That's fine.
track
Okay.
those with them.
And so you're going to get pieces of paper with that court date on it. So make sure you hang on to those, particularly if you don't get a cell phone. That's been the best way we can get a hold of it. If you do get a cell phone, let your attorney's office know, let the court know, okay?
Yeah, I'll cross into it.
We'll see you back here on October 22nd.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. What time did you say on October 22nd again? 9?
Might get kicked out of here. I hope.
He hopes he gets kicked out of here.
What do you say?
I was hoping for buttcock.
What? This one might be might be a doozy. That is a cross between a man bun and a Princess Leia bun, or half of a Princess Leia bun.
I'll just note, when there's a break, Your Honor, the city will have motions on the two final Lacey matters. We don't expect them to be appearing before the court this afternoon.
We're waiting for the jury to be seated in the.
Let's find out. Nisqually, what's your name, sir, in the orange?
Christopher Douglas Smith.
See.
I think that was his attorney who just bailed.
So this was Mr. Pazderka's client. Mr. Pazderka, are you there?
I am, Your Honor.
And so what's the status of Mr. Smith now?
Your Honor, we've gotten a competency report back indicating he's not competent. It's my understanding the state's asking for restoration.
Has that been decided yet? Has an order been entered?
No, that's what this hearing was set for.
Was this a holdover for yesterday?
It was a holdover from yesterday, which was a holdover from Friday. I unfortunately fell ill on Friday and wasn't able to handle it. And
I
then
see.
I think
So what's, I see. So this was filed by Mr. Fortunato on the 3rd. Was that just yesterday? Did you see the motion filed by the city?
I did, Your Honor.
Do you want a chance to respond?
Your Honor,
Or are you opposing the motion?
I would be opposing the motion, primarily based off of the evaluation itself. While they said that he would benefit from psychiatric treatment, they also acknowledged that he was previously at Western State for 4 months under civil commitment and refused medications during that time. And that's also the primary basis of why they believe he would be potentially restored, is if he was compliant with medication. And so on that basis, I don't believe that there's enough to believe that he would be restored based off his previous treatment.
Give me just a second.
I don't know if you can hear me, but most of the medication, I'm supposed to be on Eliquis for factor 5 Leiden dominant. I'm on SSI. Wasn't on SSI when I was at Western State, so the medications that they try to put me on don't mix with the Eliquis or the blood thinner or the anticoagulant. That's why I refused them.
Okay. So, Mr. Smith, I've reviewed the and Mr. Pizderka and Mr. Lindgren, it does opine that the examiner's opinion, there's a reasonable likelihood he would benefit from psychiatric treatment for competency restoration. He doesn't indicate that that's been ordered before or attempted before.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I do have an open PREA case, or I did with PREA. I got sexually assaulted by a police officer in Oregon, no penetration. So the police really don't like me. Not that I'm pointing any fingers, but I got sexually assaulted by a police officer in Oregon. I haven't been able to contact PREA. If I had a number, I'd be able to, but they're not being very friendly here either.
Okay.
I'm on medication.
So I will sign an order for restoration, when that's presented. And so I don't know if they have one ready. And so we're at least going to try it once and see what happens. And if that's not ready, you can just present that ex parte and I'll sign that.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I don't believe it's ready, so thank you.
And you can be taken back there, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
I'm trying. I'm having fun. Habits and movies and commissary.
Yeah, I'm going to set a date in about 60 days just for a review. Mr. Pizderka, did we leave him already? We did.
Oh, wow.
We'll set a review hearing on the 1:30 calendar. We'll go November 8th.
I'm just going to call this right now. The courts up here are a mess because of one person. One guy at the prosecutor's office quit and wrecked.
Your Honor, is it possible for Madam Clerk to pull Mr. Woodcock back from the breakout room? I'm not sure that he has the ability to do so, but I don't see the Thurston County Corrections.
We'll close it down and then he'll come back in 1 minute.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Chad looks comfy. He never seems fazed by anything.
While we're there, while we're waiting, how about, is there an Aaron Alexander? Can you come on the Zoom call there, please?
Yes, Aaron's here.
Yeah.
So you're here for a warrant quash hearing?
Yes.
Give me just a minute.
Okay.
Quashing a warrant. Basically, I think of
There's no
squashing
one
a
here from
bug.
Thurston
It's
County
like that,
Public
only
Defense,
with a
are
warrant.
they? All right. Actually, we'll come back to you in a minute there, Mr. Alexander. Sorry. So, Mr. Huxford, can you come back on the Zoom call?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then Mr. Woodcock is back. What do you wish to have happen here today?
Well, Mr. Woodcock was picked up on a warrant on August 5th, and so he's been in custody about 30 days, and this is the first hearing set that we've had. I know that there's a quite long in the tooth DV case from 2021, which he's currently held on 10,000 bond. I was hoping to address a potential amendment of release conditions given the time that he's been in custody. I know that this case has been on warrants and set for trial a number of times. I think that, according to Mr. Woodcock, he's been in and out of custody to the tune of 60 plus days of time served awaiting trial.
On this case?
On the 2021 case. There's additionally a 2024 case that was recently filed. It was filed on April 18th. He was not officially arraigned. It's my understanding that that's the posture of the other case. We would waive formal reading. I will say that I do have some concerns about probable cause, and I'm not necessarily willing to stipulate to probable cause. The way that this statement from the alleged victim.
So hang on just a minute. Just a minute here.
The jumper case is going to start in 15 minutes. They've sworn in a jury.
The probable cause was established a long time ago.
No, I didn't realize that there had been a hearing establishing probable cause.
Yep.
So
Well, he didn't appear. See, the reason he's been in custody so many times is he doesn't show up, and so that's kind of been the issue. But again, on the case of 17173, probable cause was established back in April, and then he was on warrant status on that for a while. And so, bench warrant issue. Give me a second. So it looks like give me just a second.
What are we going to count
No problem, Your Honor.
the bench jumper case? Somebody tell me. Ooh, I like this one. Jump or leap. The word bench. Number of outbursts. There's just a quick break. Judges ordered a 15-minute break.
So, on that case, the 17173 case, he doesn't even held on that, I don't think.
No,
and then
PR'd.
Yeah, and then on the case ending in 21 DV, there's 10,000 cash or bond on that.
That's correct.
He has
I need to go get my
trial
my counter
on the 16th and 17th of September. Is that correct?
It is, and I don't know that those dates are realistic. I know that Mr. Lindgren just received Mr. Robbins' case flowed a few days ago.
Job's done.
I mean, ultimately, my client communicated that there was some plea negotiations that had took place that would result in credit for time served and a potential release upon resolution. Mr. Lindgren is not aware of that offer at present, which I have no issue with that. Ultimately, resetting the time for trial, even under the current speedy trial, is problematic just because of the amount of time he spent in custody. I mean, the reckless endangerment charges and the number of counts are problematic for a variety of reasons, of course. But ultimately, it's my professional opinion at this point that he's more than served the time he would likely get if taken to trial and he lost at trial. So I certainly understand the court's concerns with respect to failure to appear. I do know that Mr. Woodcock, prior to being arrested, recently obtained employment at a local downtown restaurant. I've had good communication with him. Obviously, in custody, it makes it easier for him to be in contact with me, but I don't have any reason to believe at this point, despite his FTA history, that he will lose contact with me. He's anxious to get this resolved. Ultimately, I think a 30-day set over on the current speedy trial is problematic because it prejudices his liberty interest. And so, if the court feels it's appropriate upon my communication and contact with my client to amend bail, I think the problem with the bail currently is it's unrealistic. It's essentially a no bail hold for him because he cannot afford to post $1,000 bond because of both housing and employment issues prior to being picked up. So that would be my request today. I certainly understand with Mr. Lindgren going on that even over my objection, a continuance is likely to be granted today. But I would ask the court to at least consider the possibility of either releasing him on PR or lessening bail to an amount that might be manageable, where I could potentially reach out to some members of his community to assist in posting bond.
Well,
May I, by any chance?
Gary, I would just hold off.
Okay.
Let me hear from Mr. Lindgren.
I would echo what you said just a moment ago, Your Honor, which is that the bail amount isn't necessarily linked to, time served. It's linked to the fact that he hasn't showed up several times now, and so the state sees no reason to change the conditions of his custody at this time.
Okay, but I thought I heard Mr. Huxford saying you were asking for a continuance.
That's correct.
So, Mr. Huxford, did I hear you say that you thought that there might be a resolution in place, but then Mr. Robbins is gone, or what exactly?
That was my understanding with respect to what was most recently offered by Mr. Robbins. The prior attorney for Mr. Woodcock was the person who negotiated that plea. I don't have confirmation of that from the state either. But I mean, I think that, again, based on my experience with these types of charges, the counts available and the amount of time that he spent in custody on warrant holds, stands to reason that is a likely scenario. So, if this is set over, I think that, my recommendation would maybe be to keep the trial confirmation date, or I guess this would technically be the trial confirmation date, or maybe set something a week out to allow Mr. Lindgren and I to negotiate a resolution and get this case done.
So you're kind of reading my mind, because what I was going to do is just leave the trial date set. They're not set for the 16th or 17th. Just continue the confirmation date 1 week. Just reconvene on the 11th. Okay. So a number of times I've heard today, frankly, I did the DV calendar this morning where a number of defense attorney was said, hey, we worked something out with Mr. Robbins, but now he's gone. So what? And so it's not the first time I've heard this. Not the first time Mr. Lindgren's heard it either. I know. So a lot of those trials were set for the 4th. And so we just left them set for the 4th. I think that was right. The 4th, is that? No, not the 4th, whatever day Monday is.
Okay.
September 9th. Today's the 4th. And so since this is set for the 16th, we have an extra week. We'll just continue this confirmation, both these cases for 1 week, and then give you a chance to speak with Mr. Lindgren and maybe loop that other attorney in to see exactly what was agreed to by Mr. Robbins. Okay. And then maybe resolve it next week. And if not, and the state asks for a continuance, you can renew all these, all the arguments you make with regard to bail and all that. But I mean, it's just, and I hear what you're saying too. I'm like, well, the amount of time he said, but I've said that to numerous defendants over the years, had you just shown up, like on a shoplift or a DWS and a third, you wouldn't have had to spend a minute in jail. But just by missing court, you ended up getting picked up warrants, have to spend days in jail, which you never would have had to spend. And that's kind of the same lecture I give to Mr. Woodcock. A large percentage of life is just showing up. And so we'll leave things as they are. We'll reconvene a week from today and then go from there.
And Gary, I'll be in touch in the next day or two. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Were you talking to me? What were you saying?
Thank you.
And we're going to set that. Mr. Huxford, are you still there or not? We're going to set that right on the 1:30 calendar. On the
Next
custody calendar.
Next
Yep.
Wednesday?
And if you make bail between now and then, you still have to show up on that at
That's
1:30.
not anything. I'm gonna be in custody, but that's all right. You know, I appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's the name of the counter? Jumping, leaping, flying, airborne. It's leap say, like leap day, but any jump, hurdle, fly, propel, leap. Yeah, so all those things will count. So leap say.
Mr. McClellan, did you said you had some Lacey cases you could take care of quickly?
Yeah, we could, Your Honor.
Sorry about that.
Oh, it's fine. There's just two more that we worked out ahead of time. First one, Arsenio Jackson. This is a scenario where he was just evaluated and found not competent recently, and unfortunately he's been arrested every day since. But this time the city is moving to dismiss without prejudice.
Been arrested every day.
This is the case ending in 822?
Correct.
Subject to a DCR review?
I would ask that. He was in court yesterday, released, and I don't know that we did a DCR, and I think he was arrested right back.
And then what about the other two cases?
Those are post convictions. Just to release. Has to release them. No action.
Got it. All right.
And then Sarah Lizer, she was actually for residential burglary, but the officer also cited her for the VNCO. But I confirmed that she's being charged with the VNCO in Superior Court, so we're dismissing our matter without prejudice.
Got it.
Corrections were informed not to bring either of those.
We'll be released on this. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think that's it for Lacey.
I think that's it for Lacey. Sorry for making you wave around for that. It slipped my mind that you had asked to be heard on that.
No problem.
Give me just a minute there, Attorney Duncan. I'll come back to you in a second.
Got to fix this one. Something's wrong with it. Hang on. Let's change the gain. There we go.
Okay.
The clipping.
Attorney Duncan, who's seated to your left?
Yes, Your Honor, I am Ms. Johnson.
So she's here on a backup on the case ending in 200. She has a pretrial on September 25th. And now there's a preliminary appearance on a new charge, 24 DV 905. For what is the state seeking probable cause on that case?
Oh, for what is the state seeking probable cause? Oh, that is for violation of a no contact protection order and domestic violence stalking.
There we go. I got it fixed.
Ms. or Attorney Duncan?
Your Honor, I've advised Ms. Johnston of her rights. We've reviewed the charges in this case, the police report, and for this hearing alone, we are not contesting probable cause.
Any minute now, we're going to start the trial. I'm going to bail on Thurston really quickly. It was fun, but we're gone now. We are back in Nevada, possibly the same courtroom as the Telus trial. Is that a possibility? So we are on the flying felon. Is that what we're going to call this? The flying felon trial. Why is that not coming on live? There we go. Sure, let's do a thumbnail. It's not that I gave up, it's that I gave in. That's what happened. Create a design. I like flying felon. We'll call that custom size. All right, here we go. We're going to post a link to a blank slate thumbnail. There it is. I think that's it. If you would like to participate in making a thumbnail for the flying felon case, which we anticipate to start in moments, please click that link right there while it's on the screen, and at least you click it in chat. Who's Lois Cox muted? What's muted? It's just quiet from court right now. That's all. You don't hear me? Test 1 2. Testing 1 2. Check 1 2. Court's just quiet. I can hear me. I see levels. It's working. It's just quiet. That's all. Check in with the court watcher that's down there. Kyle J. Payne from 8 News. 8 News Now. The attorneys in the trial are discussing photos to be admitted at the trial, including gruesome injuries suffered by a marshal in the courtroom, both with and without bandages. Marshall needed 25 stitches in forehead, a huge gaping gash. The prosecutor arguing relevance. Carl Arnold says, compared to the marshal who had 25 stitches in his forehead, he tripped and hit his head, creating a huge horrific gash. Says injuries sustained by Judge Mary K. Holthus were far less than Marshall's. The photos are very inflammatory. I bet they are. I bet those are some very inflammatory photos. The video of him jumping over the bench is inflammatory as well. 11 not 12. Maths are hard. Yes, they are. I'm struggling with my phone today. I can't find a place to put it where it won't just fall off the desk. All right, there we go. The trial is just getting started right now, so we're waiting for a feed. Debbie says, I love this group. Looking forward to getting to know y'all better. Thanks for making me feel so welcome. All right, you're the best. Debbie, thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations on that second. Well, you've got your 3rd month already. That's your 2-month membership, but you're on your 3rd month here. Love it. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, just waiting for the court to get things together. Does Ari know we are seeing silence? You should be able to see the court counter and the seal. Linda, welcome. If you want to see something, I could show you outdoors here, but that's not as interesting as court. The court feed is not on yet. We're waiting for the judge to let everybody in. Fall. It's been a hot minute, my friend. How are you doing? Welcome. As soon as the judge authorizes the cameras to be turned on, they will be turned on. We should get audio at the same time.
Call from
Thal.
Thanks for calling, because I know once you call, the court will start immediately as soon as you start talking. So appreciate that.
Yes.
What's happening, my friend?
I have been playing Wukong the Black Myth over in my channel, streaming it. And you've got to check that. You've got to check some of the clips out over there, bud. The game is just beautiful. It's gorgeous.
You know what my channel's about, right?
Yeah.
Like Recovery Addict. You know I'm recovering from gaming, right?
Listen.
I'll check it out. Is it a Steam game?
Yes, it is a Steam game. Here's the thing, is that it is a very hard first-person adventure game. So it's not a sim game. That's why I'm telling you about it.
Okay.
Because you said you had a thing for sim games. It's not a sim game. Not at all. This is not up your alley.
It's a first-person. It's like a puzzle.
Well, it's not a first person. It's a third person, should I say?
It's a puzzle game.
So you're up and behind the person.
Oh, so because the view is not through the person's eyes, you think I won't fall into the trap.
Well, it's not a sim game. That's why I think you won't fall into the trap. That, and it's a lot of jumping around. It's a lot of button mashing. It's a lot of fun, and it's really pretty, but it's really intense as far as a fighting game goes. So I remember you talking about it one time, and I was kind of like, he doesn't really do these. So
I'll look at it. I'll look at your clips. Is it on the Warhammer channel? or on your new?
Yeah, it's on the Fall channel. Yeah, because I'm doing Space Marines 2, whatever video game is coming out, and so some of my audience was screaming at me about it, and it was they weren't screaming at me, they were asking if I was going to play it, and there was a lot of people, so I was like, fine. Yep. So I went out and bought it.
And you're hooked. That's how they get you.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
I'll check out your clips. That sounds awesome. Glad you're doing well. I was a little worried about you. I was looking at a couple. I mean, it's not that I think this would happen, but I was checking some of the dockets just to see if your name came up on some of the the public lists of people in trouble. But luckily, I did not find.
Don't worry. They'll never catch me. I got too many connections.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thal, have a good one. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Thal is like recommending a beer to an alcoholic because they like hard liquor. We are about to begin. All the different people who are showing court have a feed of the wall up, basically the seal, and that's it. So let's see. That is camera 3. I think we're good here. Just trying to get everything lined up perfectly. Ooh, Amazon truck, just driving by. Special delivery. For those that are asking, they asked, have I got my new switcher yet? I have the money for the switcher. I'm going to be ordering the switcher, but I don't have the space to have the switcher shipped to me and then hauled back to North Carolina. And for that reason and that reason alone, I'm waiting until I get back to North Carolina, or at least a couple days before I ordered it, so that it will arrive there and then I can pick it up. So we'll have our new switcher when we get back. Also ordering some audio equipment for a gig I'm doing the weekend I arrive back in North Carolina. A big convention center thing, running audio and video for that. And I'm picking up I think it's called a DBX Feedback Eliminator is what it's called. Feedback Eliminator. And it runs, there we go. It runs a quick, okay, we were all wrong. First of all, the lawyer is blinged out in his fancy gold glasses, and defendant is in a full suit.
Okay. Are we ready to proceed? And you wanted me to read this instruction before you gave your opening.
It needs to be read before we introduce the evidence. I don't know what Mr. Arnold's preference is as to whether it's read before opening.
It can be done with your introductory remarks, Your Honor. If you're reading instructions, because it is going to be introduced, like we said, probably off of the first witness. And so we don't want to take the time then to go ahead and, do the Travis instruction.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and bring the jury in, and I will read it right after I finish my instructions before they get up to do their opening. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we've got a counter already at 1 because Thal called and he said jump, and I figured that counts because we were watching the court wall when he said it. So we're counting that 1. So camera 2 needs to be a teensy bit higher. Lift that 1 up. There we go. Too high. Now back down. There we go. So this judge looks a lot like the judge in the Telus case, but the bench is a little bit different. Same microphones, same Admiralty Court flag. Bite me, thank you very much. Give Buttercup a pat for us. Appreciate that.
I'll press it, Your Honor.
Will counsel please stipulate to the presence of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense
Right.
does.
You may be seated.
Guys, at the end of the day, we should just let you know. Just let you know.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you are admonished. No juror may declare to a fellow juror any fact relating to this case as of his or her own knowledge. And if any juror discovers during the trial or after the jury has retired that he, she, or any other juror has personal knowledge of any fact in controversy in this case, he or she shall disclose such situation to me through Officer Black in the absence of the other jurors. This means that if you learn during the course of this trial that you are acquainted with the facts of this case or the witnesses and you have not previously told me of this relationship, you must then declare that fact to me. During the course of the trial, the lawyers for both sides are not permitted to converse with members of the jury. These individuals are not being antisocial. They are bound by ethics and the law not to talk to you. To do so might contaminate your verdict. You are admonished additionally, you are not to visit the scene of any of the acts or occurrences made mention of during this trial unless specifically directed to do so by the court.
They are in the scene.
What that also means, when I say no investigations or to visit the scene, I mean you don't just not do it physically. You don't do it by using your handheld devices, your iPads, your phones. You don't Google Earth. You don't do any of those kinds of things. Everything you are going to learn about, you're going to learn about within this courtroom. Ladies and gentlemen, what I will now say is intended to serve as an introduction to the trial of this case. It is not a substitute for the detailed instructions on the law, which I will give you at the close of this case and before you retire to consider your verdict. This is a criminal case commenced by the state of Nevada, which I may sometimes refer to as the state or the plaintiff, against the defendant, Mr. Redden. The case is based upon an indictment. At this time, or actually a second amended indictment. The clerk will now read the second amended indictment to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and state the plea of the defendant to that second amended indictment.
Okay, here's the basis of this case. Listen carefully.
District Court, Clark County, Nevada. The State of Nevada plaintiff versus Deobra Delone Redden, defendant. Case number C24380-558-1. Department 22, second amended indictment. State of Nevada, County of Clark, the defendant above named, Deobra Delone Redden, accused by the Clark County Grand Jury of the crime of attempt murder, victim 60 years of age or older, committed at and within the County of Clark, State of Nevada, on or about the 3rd day of January 2024 as follows. Count 1, attempt murder, victim 60 years of age or older, did willfully, unlawfully, feloniously, and with malice aforethought attempt to kill Judge Mary K. Holtis, who is 60 years of age or older, to wit, during rendition of sentence, and once he knew she was about to sentence him to prison, did leap over defense counsel table into the well of the courtroom, thereafter rushing towards the judicial bench and jumping over it Superman style directly into Judge Mary K. Holtis's judicial space, landing directly on top of her and immediately attacking Judge Mary K. Holtis by grabbing her, pulling her hair, placing his hands around her throat, and or hitting her on the head by manner and means unknown.
by manner and means unknown.
Dated
I
this
think we know how
third
it
day
happened.
of September 2024, Stephen B. Wolfson, Clark County District Attorney, by Elizabeth Mercer, Chief Deputy District Attorney, to which the defendant has pled not guilty to.
Please understand that the second amended indictment is simply a charge, and it is not in any sense evidence of the allegations it contains. The defendant has pled not guilty to the second amended indictment. The state, therefore, has the burden of proving each of the essential elements of the indictment beyond a reasonable doubt. As the defendant sits there now, he is not guilty. The purpose of this trial is to determine whether the state will meet that burden. The trial will proceed in the following order. 1, the parties have the opportunity to make opening statements. What is said in opening statement is not evidence. The statements simply serve the purpose of an introduction to the evidence which the party making the statement intends to produce. 2, the state will introduce evidence in support of the indictment. This is called the plaintiff's or the state's case in chief. After the state presents evidence, the defendant may present evidence, but is not obligated to do so. This is the defendant's case in chief. If the defendant presents evidence, the state may present rebuttal evidence. 5, if the state presents rebuttal evidence, the defendant may present surrebuttal evidence. 6, after the evidence, I will instruct you on the applicable law. You must not be concerned with the wisdom of any rule of law stated in these instructions or in the instructions which I will read to you after the evidence, regardless of any opinion you may have as to what the law ought to be. It would be a violation of your oath to base a verdict upon any other view of the law than that given you by me. 7, after the instructions on the law are read to you, each party has the opportunity to present closing argument in support of their case. What is said in closing argument is not evidence, just as what is said in opening statements is not evidence. The arguments are designed to present to you the contentions of the parties as to what the evidence has shown and what inferences may be drawn from the evidence. Your purpose as jurors is to find and determine the facts. Under our system of criminal procedure, you are the sole judge of the facts. You determine the facts from the testimony you hear and the other evidence, including exhibits introduced in court. It is up to you to determine the inferences which you feel may be properly drawn from the evidence. It is especially important you perform your duty of determining the facts diligently and conscientiously, for ordinarily there is no means of correcting an erroneous determination of facts by the jury. The parties may sometimes present objections to some of the testimony or other evidence. It is the duty of a lawyer to object to evidence which he or she believes may not properly be offered, and you should not be prejudiced in any way against the lawyer who makes objections on behalf of the party he or she represents. At times, I may sustain objections or direct you disregard certain testimony or exhibits. You must not consider any evidence to which an objection has been sustained or which I have instructed you to disregard. Anything you may have seen or heard outside the courtroom is not evidence and must also be disregarded. Remember, statements, arguments, and opinions of counsel are not evidence in the case. However, if the attorneys stipulate or agree as to the existence of a fact, you must accept the stipulation as evidence and regard that fact as proved. You must not speculate to be true any insinuation suggested by a question asked the witness. A question is not evidence and may be considered only as it supplies meaning to the answer. You must not be influenced in any degree by any personal feeling of sympathy for or prejudice against the state or defendant. Both sides are entitled to the same fair and impartial consideration. In considering the weight and value of the testimony of any witness, you may take into consideration the appearance, attitude, and behavior of the witness, the interest of the witness in the outcome of the case, if any, the relation of the witness to the defendant or state, the inclination of the witness to speak truthfully or not, and the probability or improbability of the witness's statements, and all of the facts and circumstances in evidence. Thus, you may give the testimony of any witness just such weight and value as you believe the testimony of the witness is entitled to receive. There are two kinds of evidence: direct and circumstantial. Direct evidence is testimony by a witness about what that witness personally saw, heard, or did. Circumstantial evidence is testimony or exhibits which are proof of a particular fact from which, if proven, you may infer the existence of a second fact. And I'm going to give you an example of both. You know, it's been pretty hot out there, and I understand it's going to get hotter probably in the next several days before it starts cooling off. I want to take you up to Mount Charleston in the middle of winter, okay? I'm going to take you up there in the evening, and it has just snowed, and you see this beautiful blanket of undisturbed snow. Now, it's pretty well lit because we've got a full moon up there. So you've got the full moon, you got this beautiful blanket of undisturbed snow among the trees, and as you're looking at the scene, you happen to see a bunny hop through the snow. That is direct evidence that the bunny was there. You saw it. You saw the bunny hop through the snow. Okay, I'm going to take you back. Full moon, dark sky, shining on this beautiful scene, except there's one difference. The snow is not totally undisturbed. There are bunny tracks already in the snow. You didn't see the bunny there, but it's fresh tracks. You can infer that is circumstantial evidence that the bunny was there. Okay? You may consider both direct and circumstantial evidence in deciding this case. The law permits you to give equal weight to both.
It's fun story time.
But it is for you to decide how much weight to give to any evidence. No statement, ruling, remark, or comment which I may make during the course of this trial is intended to indicate my opinion as to how you should decide the case or to influence you in any way in your determination of the facts. At times, I may even ask questions of witnesses. If I do so, it is for the purpose of bringing out matters which I feel should be brought out and not in any way to indicate my opinion about the facts or to indicate the weight I feel you should give to the testimony of the witness. I may also find it necessary to admonish the lawyers. And if I do, you should not show prejudice or against the lawyer or his or her client because I found it necessary to admonish him or her. Until this case is submitted to you, you must not discuss it with anyone, even with your fellow jurors. After it is submitted to you, you must discuss it only in the jury room with your fellow jurors. It is important that you keep an open mind and not decide any issue in the case until the entire case has been submitted to you under instructions from me. If you cannot hear a witness, please raise your hand as an indication. I might note we do have earmuffs that can amplify the sound if you are having problems hearing. And the only thing I ask that you do is that when we're not in session, whenever I'm talking to the lawyers privately under the white noise, I'm going to want you to take it off because literally you're going to be able to hear what's going on the tables of the lawyers and you're going to be able to hear what's going on up here.
Judge,
and you're not supposed to hear that
Can I get
part.
some of those,
Okay?
please? Can you have me some of those?
Also,
I want the good headphones.
I plan to have regular bathroom breaks about every hour and a half or so. I try and peg it so I'm not interrupting witnesses or so forth, but sometimes I may do that. So I'll time it to be right in the middle of the session. But I do appreciate nature calls sometimes and you just really, really got to go. Just raise your hand as an indication and we'll go ahead and take a break right there. Okay? I may during the trial take notes of a witness's testimony. You're not to make
The
any
earmuffs are
inference
soft.
from that
They're
action.
made out of bunny fur.
I am required to prepare for legal arguments of counsel during this trial, and for that reason I may take notes. Again, let me remind you that until this case is submitted to you, 1, do not talk to each other or anyone else about it or about anyone who has anything to do with it until the end of the case when you go to the jury room to decide upon your verdict. 2, anyone else means members of your family and your friends. You may tell them you are a juror in a criminal case, but don't tell them anything else about it until after you've been discharged as jurors by me. 3, do not let anyone talk to you about the case or about anyone who has anything to do with it. If someone should try to talk to you, please report it immediately through Officer Black. 4, do not read any news stories or articles or listen to any radio or television reports about the case or about anyone who has anything to do with it. And again, that means you don't use your handheld devices to check me out or the lawyers out on Facebook or anything like that. Everything you will learn about this case, you're going to learn inside this courtroom. A trial is a search for the truth under the rules of law. Therefore, the court will allow members of the jury to ask written questions of any witness called to testify in this case. You are not encouraged to ask questions because that is the responsibility of the lawyers. Nevertheless, if you believe that an important question has not been asked or that an answer needs clarification, you may submit a question. Keep in mind, a witness scheduled to testify later in the trial may be the best person to answer that question. A question may be asked in the following manner. Please write it down and pass the paper to Officer Black. Make sure your juror number is on that piece of paper. Copies will then immediately be made for counsel and me as the presiding judge. I will then privately confer with the lawyers at a convenient time and then decide if the question is appropriate under Nevada law. Also, when you submit a question, make sure that you are submitting it while we are taking in the evidence. That is, when the witnesses are testifying and the exhibits are being admitted. If you start asking the questions during opening statement, we can't help you there. And most certainly during closing argument, we will not be able to open up the evidence to have that question answered. Okay? If the question seeks factual information from the witness and is designed to clarify information about the issues in this trial, I, the presiding judge, or the lawyers may question the witness regarding the points raised in the juror question. No emphasis should be placed on the answer to the question merely because the question came from a juror. If a question submitted by a juror is not asked, no adverse inference can be drawn. The question was simply not allowed under the Nevada rules of evidence and must be disregarded. Would either of the parties want the exclusionary rule invoked?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, the rule has been invoked.
If there is anyone present who expects to be called as a witness, please leave the room. Remain available in the hallway and do not discuss your testimony or the testimony of any other witness with anyone except the parties to this lawsuit and their lawyers. Okay? And counsel, do you have any, we talked about the admissibility of exhibits before. I'm going to go ahead and the parties have stipulated to the admission of certain exhibits. That's just to save us some time so they don't have to lay the foundation for it. States exhibits 1 through 33 and 40 through 61 are admitted.
Everything.
Okay?
1 through 33 and 40
and
through 61.
I have an instruction to give you. Any evidence that the defendant committed offenses other than that for which he is on trial, if believed, may not be considered by you to prove that he is a person of bad character or to prove that he has a disposition to commit crimes. Such evidence was received to provide context to the events upon which the charge is based, and because it was not possible to omit other relevant evidence and at the same time exclude evidence of other crimes. Should we mark that as court's instruction number A?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you okay with that, Mr. Arnold?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's a letter, Your Honor. That's a letter.
All right.
A is a letter.
Counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Here we go with opening statements. Leap counter. Anytime they say jump, leap, flew, hurdled, propelled himself, any reference to him leaving the ground and clearing the bench.
Do you have your microphone on? I'm about to turn it on right now.
This is a great start. We're already up to 5.
I tried to kill a judge today. Those were the defendant's words mere hours after he violently attacked Judge Mary Kay Holvis in this courthouse on January 3rd of 2024 in courtroom 3F.
In case you want to visit the crime scene, jury, that's where it's at.
In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada.
Whoa!
she okay? Hey. Hey, can you fucking radio somebody? Fucking radio somebody!
We're all here today because of that attack.
Wow.
Judge Mary Kay Holthus is here today because of the bravery and intervention of 6 men.
And
Her
the
law
punches,
clerk, Michael Lasso,
also known as Rocky.
Correctional Officer Joseph Cabralda,
Joe.
Chief Deputy District Attorney Jory Scarborough, Chief Deputy District Attorney Richard Scow, Marshal Shane Brandon.
That's the best picture we
Court
have
Marshal in Department
of
18,
Shane.
where this event occurred, and Marshal Ben Bachhuber, who is the court marshal in the courtroom next door.
What about the prosecutor who stood at the table or
On
was
the
the
date
defense?
of this
Just stood there and
incident,
watched.
Judge Mary Kay Holthus was 62 years of age. She had been a judge since 2019. She had a mixed caseload, which meant she heard both civil matters and criminal matters. January 3rd of 2024 was a Wednesday, which meant it was a criminal calendar day. In anticipation of her calendar, she went through her calendar before the calendar actually occurred. Mr. Redden's case was obviously on calendar that day. She reviewed the relevant information pertinent to Mr. Redden's matter, which was on calendar for a motion to quash bench warrant and rendition of sentence, meaning he was supposed to be sentenced in front of her. The information she reviewed consisted of his pre-sentence investigation report. That report provides her important background information about Mr. Redden, but also the facts of the underlying offense. She made some preliminary notes. There was nothing particularly unique about Mr. Redden's case. Then her criminal calendar occurs. When Mr. Redden's case gets called, it's approximately 11:10 in the morning. A little more than halfway through her calendar, which began at 9:30 a.m. When the case gets called, initially, everything is going normal. You'll hear that typically with criminal sentencing, the state gets to argue first. Then a defendant is free to make a statement if he wishes to. In this case, Mr. Redden did. He argued for probation. He presented the court with information that he believed mitigated against a term of incarceration. After Mr. Redden was done, his defense attorney, Cesar Almasi, also made an argument to the court, seeking probation on his behalf. After Mr. Almasi was done, but prior to Judge Mary Kay Holthus having the opportunity to impose the sentence that she believed was appropriate, she made a comment, and that comment was interpreted by many people in the courtroom, including Mr. Redden, as indicating that he was not going to receive probation. After that comment was made, and before she imposed the sentence, Mr. Redden jumped over defense counsel's table, which was approximately 2.5 feet tall and 3 feet deep. He then bolted towards Judge Mary Kay Holthus' judicial bench. As you can see from this picture, the courtroom is set up differently from how this courtroom is set up. There's only one entrance and exit to the judicial bench in that courtroom. He then launched himself 4 feet, more than 4 feet, in the air, and tackled Judge Mary Kay Holthus like she was a football player. He then, once was over the bench and made contact with her, pulled her by the hair as hard as he could, and yanked her to the ground like she was a rag doll. When she testifies, you'll hear that she remembers being struck in the head, but she doesn't remember how it happened. She doesn't remember if it was an intentional act by the defendant, whether her head hit something, an object nearby during this altercation. But she remembers being jolted and frightened. She was trapped. This is the judicial bench in that courtroom. That entrance is the only entrance to or from where she sits when she presides over her calendar. And the altercation that you saw in the first clip happened right there. She had nowhere to go. She was terrified. She knew that she was no match for his physical strength. So she hid. She hid as far away from Mr. Redden as she possibly could. She crawled into the corner of that bench and waited there until the entire thing was over. When you watch the full video, you'll see that it took approximately 3 to 4 minutes before Mr. Redden was moved from that location. She was so shaken up, you'll hear, that initially she tried to climb that wall that you see in the picture and exit her courtroom where her court clerk sits. That's not an exit. But she did not want to be near Mr. Redden, and Mr. Redden was still in the entrance when he was eventually apprehended. Michael Lasso was the first person to intervene on her behalf because he was situated closest. Michael Lasso is her law clerk. He's been her law clerk for several months now.
He's now training
He'll
to be
tell you
an
about what
MMA
his
fighter
job duties
as well.
are as a law clerk. But more than a law clerk, he is also a close family friend of the Holthuses. He has known Judge Mary Kay Holthus his entire life. He was not supposed to be at work that day. Fortunately, he changed his mind and decided to go in. He will tell you that among his many job duties as his law clerk, or as her law clerk, is he sits next to her during the calendars in case something comes up that she needs help with. Thankfully, on this day, he was situated exactly where he needed to be, to her left in that courtroom, as she presided over criminal matters. He was answering emails, performing work, and also paying attention to what was occurring on the calendar. He first realized that something was amiss when Judge Holthus made a comment and her marshal moved closer to Mr. Redden. You will hear that when her court marshal moves closer to a defendant who appears out of custody for sentencing, that generally means that defendant is about to be remanded into custody. When the marshal moved closer to Mr. Redden and started to unclasp his handcuffs, they jingled. And then he remembers seeing Mr. Redden bolt over defense counsel's table and across the courtroom. Initially, he believed that perhaps Mr. Redden was trying to exit out of one of these rear exits in the courtroom that staff use. But it became apparent to him pretty quickly that his intended target was Judge Mary Kay Holthus. And when you watch the video, you'll see the surprise, the shock in his eyes as he's watching this occur. He remembers Mr. Redden launching himself directly at Judge Holthus and knocking her out of her chair with such force that her head hit the tile wall behind the bench. He immediately knew that he needed to take action because he was frightened for her life and he was frightened for his own life. So he lifts Mr. Redden off of Mary Kay Holthus because he's the closest person to her. He got some assistance along the way, and the first person to come to his aid, and Judge Holthus's aid, was Correctional Officer Joseph Caralda. You will hear that on this date, he was assigned to the Field Services Unit at the Clark County Detention Center. That means that he's one of the correctional officers that's responsible for transporting inmates to and from their court hearings. He's also responsible for documenting the outcome of those hearings. So he was seated in the witness stand in that courtroom, which is directly next to the judge, but there's no doorway between the witness stand and the judge's bench. So when he saw the defendant go for Judge Mary Kay Holthus and tackle her, he had to climb over that wall to get to the point where he could assist. When you watch the video where the yellow circle is, that's Officer Cabralda climbing over the wall.
Who's the guy in
At
the
this
suit
time,
who
Officer
does
Cabaldo
nothing?
was the only correctional officer remaining in the courtroom, because other correctional officers had just done what they call a download, which means moving defendants who were already done with their cases back to the detention center. You will hear that he struggled mightily trying to get control over Mr. Redden. That Mr. Redden resisted both he and Mr. Lasso and everyone else that came to their aid very hard. At some point, Mr. Redden was able to knock him to the ground. At which point, Mr. Lasso and Mr. Scarborough began to work even harder to get him off of Officer Cabaldo, because Officer Cabaldo was armed back, which could have presented a whole new set of problems.
We're watching it frame by frame.
Mr. Redden continued to resist, which is why you see Officer Cabaldo and Officer Lasso striking him over and over again, because they needed to get him to comply, and he was not getting it.
Bailiffs are walking all over this
struggling to get away from
courtroom.
them, struggling to get back to Judge Holthus. Eventually, they do get him under control.
He's tired
And
of this
Officer
already.
Cabaldo actually uses one of Marshal Shane Brandon's, his actual set of handcuffs. He gets one cuff on Mr. Redden, but Mr. Redden is still resisting, so it takes an additional marshal before they can actually get him into both arms into the cuffs. Chief Deputy District Attorney Jory Scarborough was in the courtroom that day because he had another matter that was on calendar, not Mr. Redden's case. He's assigned to a specialty unit at the Clark County DA's office, the gun crimes unit. And you'll hear that as a specialty team deputy, he makes multiple court appearances in a day, oftentimes. So he arrived at Judge Holthus's department at around 10 a.m. and he was still present, waiting for his case to be called when this broke out. Again, he was partially paying attention, partially not, but he got the gist that Mr. Redden's case was on for sentencing. The state wanted prison time. Mr. Redden wanted probation. And then he figured out that Judge Holthus was not going to give him probation. He remembers, like Mr. Lasso, watching Marshal Shane Brandon move closer to the defendant. He looks down to do something else. And when he looks up, he sees that the defendant has already cleared defense counsel's table and is running full speed and hurling himself at Judge Mary Kay Holthus. Like Mr. Lasso and Officer Cabaldo, he immediately knew that he needed to assist. So he went around the witness stand, climbed over the same wall that Officer Cabaldo climbed over, and tried to wrap his elbow around Mr. Redden's neck to gain compliance. It obviously didn't work initially. He'll tell you that Mr. Redden was elbowing him repeatedly and trying to buck him off so that he could get back to Judge Holthus. But with the assistance of Chief Deputy Richard Scow and the other people who I've already mentioned, they were ultimately able to get him to comply. You will hear from both Michael Lasso and Jory Scarborough that once Mr. Redden was under control, their first thought was to check on Judge Holthus. When they checked on her, they saw her still curled up in the fetal position underneath her bench. And she looked terrified. She was frightened, disoriented, shaken. And that really struck Mr. Lasso because he's known Ms. Holthus his whole life. And he's always thought of her as a tough cookie. But in that moment, she was scared. Marshal Shane Brandon, as I mentioned earlier, is assigned to Department 18. He's been assigned to that department for approximately 2 years. As the court marshal, he is responsible for maintaining order and safety in the courtroom during calendars. Because of a previous incident that he had where an out-of-custody defendant tried to flee from the courtroom, it became his practice to stand exactly there. The doors behind him that you see in this photograph are the public entrance and exit doors. So he stands there to prevent defendants from fleeing the courtroom if they don't like the outcome. Like Mr. Lasso and Mr. Scarborough, he realized that Judge Holthus was not going to give Mr. Redden probation. So he made his way directly behind Mr. Redden, at which point he intended to handcuff him to remand him into custody. He unclasped his handcuffs, and immediately Mr. Redden bolted across defense counsel table. When you watch the video, you'll see that Mr. Redden hops the table, but Court Marshal Shane Brandon walked around this device that was kind of blocking his path to Judge Holthus. It's called an Elmo. And in his pursuit of Mr. Redden, just as he was about to grab his legs, as he was lunging over the bench, he tripped or somehow fell. And when he fell, he sustained a huge gash to his forehead that required 25 stitches. In addition to that gash, he severely injured his shoulder. He didn't initially notice that his shoulder was injured until he stood up in front of Judge Holthus's bench and tried to propel himself over the bench using his arm. At that point, he realized there was something severely wrong with his arm. He had to have shoulder surgery and was placed on light duty until just a few weeks ago, when he returned to full duty. He doesn't remember a whole lot of the incident, not surprising, but when he stood up and realized what was transpiring, even after he couldn't get over the bench because of his injured arm, he walked around the desk where court staff sits to assist as best he could, given the circumstances. He passed his handcuffs off to Officer Cabraldo and helped try to restrain Mr. Redden. Eventually, court staff in Department 18 alerted the marshal next door to the emergent situation that was occurring in Department 18. He is the court marshal assigned to courtroom 3E, which is directly to the left of Department 3F, which is where Judge Holthus's courtroom is. Court staff walked into the courtroom. They were in session, just like Judge Holthus, and said, "We need you now. It's an emergency. Please come now." So he walked out one of the rear exits to the courtroom like that, and then walked into the rear exit of the courtroom where these events were unfolding. When he walked in, his entrance into the judge's bench area was blocked because her chair, the law clerk's chair, had all kind of piled up right there. He moved them, and when he got to Mr. Redden had one handcuff in the cuffs and one still loose. He was still resisting very hard, and they were struggling to get the cuffs on him. So he took control of the loose arm so that the other individuals could get him in handcuffs. Once the defendant, Mr. Redden, finally calmed down to the point where they felt comfortable relocating him, he was taken to the holding cell just to the side of where the court staff sits. And once he was in the holding cell, Marshal Bachhuber and the other marshals that were down there at this point did what they needed to do to document what had occurred in the courtroom.
What are we playing now?
I think it's the Blue Jeans, Your Honor. I think it's somebody on Blue Jeans.
What?
I think it's someone on blue jeans.
Oh, it's somebody on blue jeans. Can you mute them? Oh, God. What? What?
Somebody put some inappropriate video on there. It was inappropriate.
Okay, we may not be doing blue jeans or Zoom during the hearing, if that's going to happen. Yeah.
Someone just Zoom bombed
Okay.
Zoom.
I'm sorry, Council.
It's okay.
And I'm sorry. This has never happened.
It
At
happened
least
in,
not while I've been on the
happened
bench.
in Young
It's the first
Thug.
time for everything. Anyways, going back to where I was, Mr. Redden sat in the holding cell outside of the courtroom for approximately an hour or so before Marshal Bachhuber, Marshal Rollinson, and their lieutenant escorted him to the Clark County Detention Center. You'll hear that it's the court marshal's responsibility to book an out-of-custody inmate who was remanded into custody, which is why they had to do it.
Oh my goodness.
So they walked him over to the Clark County Detention Center where he began the booking process. You will hear from Correctional Officer Darren Meegum and Correctional Officer Almas Cabrera that during the booking process, an inmate sees both psych and classification. And that's done for the purposes of determining where to house these individuals. When Mr. Redden was seen by psych on January 3rd of 2024, he reported homicidal ideations. Specifically, the report indicates, in regards to homicidal ideation, patient stated, "Only the judge. She sentenced me to prison." He denied having a plan to harm her. He also denied thoughts or intent to harm officers or other patients, or anyone other than the judge who sent him to prison. Ultimately, because of his expression of homicidal ideations, they determined it would be best to house him in Unit 2C. You will hear that Unit 2C is the unit where they send people with homicidal ideations, among other things. But with regards to his classification in 2C, it was because of his statements. So Officers Darren Meekum and Almas Cabrera went to transfer release, where the defendant had been waiting for classification. They were tasked with the responsibility of getting him dressed out into his Clark County Detention Center uniform, as well as performing what they refer to as a strip search. You'll see the video of them in the area, but there's no audio. Officer Darren Meacham is the taller individual standing at the front. Officer Cabrera is the individual off to his left. And when they walked into the cell, it was a single person cell. He was by himself. They observed him casually laying on the bench with his hands behind his head.
This is crazy.
They gave him commands, told him what they were there for, and he spontaneously stated to them, "Sorry I'm moving so slow. I'm kind of sore today. I tried to kill a judge." Those statements
had a rough
Mr.
day.
Redden made, and that violent attack against 62-year-old Judge Mary Kay Holthus are the reason that we're all here today. And when the state is done presenting its evidence, we are going to ask that you return a verdict of guilty as to the only charge in this case.
What an open. Got Zoom bombed. Young Thug style. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Do you want me to get back on Zoom or now?
Not right now. I want to make sure his presentation's unobstructed. Okay.
We're good?
Sir.
May it please the court, counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for your time and attention. 3.7 seconds. 3.7 seconds. That was when the officer unclaps the handcuffs. My client heard it, turned and looked at him, and made a move for the bench. This all occurred in 3.7 seconds.
We can show the video again. We got the other view. Boom. 1, 2. He was quick like a bunny. That was fast.
3.7 seconds. That was not enough time for Mr. Redden to formulate the intent to kill Judge Holtis. Remember what this case is about.
This is the crux of the case.
One count of attempted murder. And for there to be an attempted murder, there has to be intent. Intent to kill. As everything else in life, the story didn't begin on January 13th. This story actually occurred on April 13th, 2023. This is when Mr. Redden was first arrested for what brought him in front of Judge Holtis. And basically, Mr. Redden was arrested for swinging a metal baseball bat at his brother-in-law.
Isn't that also nearly attempted murder?
He was charged with assault with a deadly weapon. He was also apprehended by the police, and he was taken into custody. When you're taken into custody, you're supposed to, within 48 hours, stand before a magistrate so they could decide the question of bail or not. Mr. Redden, on April 13th, told the officers that had him in custody that he refused to be transported. So he was just going to stay in custody without these charges being read to him. The following week, they waited some time, continued the matter. On April 20th, 2023, Mr. Redden, he failed to leave his jail cell again, and he says that he wasn't coming to the hearing. They had to continue the hearing. Again, on April 25th, Mr. Redden refused to be transported to the heading. Finally, the Justice Court Judge, Judge Jacinto, he did an order that says, by any means necessary, he needs to be present in this courtroom. So on April 26th, the officers got Mr. Redden, and he was present. The judge then, he's handed the charges. The judge asked him if he understood the charges. Mr. Redden didn't even respond to the judge's questions, even though he had a copy of the information, which was assault with a deadly weapon, on his person. And not only did he not answer the judge's questions, he became disruptive in the court proceedings. At this point, again, we have almost a week plus that we see this individual not coming to court. Once he gets to court, he's being disruptive and he's not participating in the court proceedings. At this point, his attorney, which was a public defender, then petitions the court to send him to what's called competency court. Competency court is a whole nother courtroom here in our building. And competency court is for people that do not understand the legal proceedings, are unable to assist their attorneys in their defense, or number 3, appear to have some kind of mental condition that prohibits them from acting properly in court. All those things were exhibited by my client, Mr. Redden. He was sent there to be evaluated and see if he can be restored to competency. Restored to competency is basically, we can't try you. We cannot prosecute you under the law since you're not understanding what's going on. You're not displaying courtroom behavior, you're not helping your attorney out. we can't sit here and prosecute you. Go ahead. So, basically, he's found on May 23rd, he's sent to Lake Crossing. Lake Crossing is a mental institution here in town, and what they do at Lake Crossing is make sure that you're evaluated to test your competency. Sometimes, people are sent there and they have lingering symptoms like they're just making up, acting crazy. Other times, they sit there and evaluate someone and their mental instability is so severe, they just have to stay at Lakes Crossing for an indefinite amount of time because, again, the state can't prosecute you under that incompetency. So, in regards to Mr. Redden, he was evaluated and it was determined by Dr. John Paglini, who will be here and he will testify in regards to this case and in regards to his finding of incompetency. And there are other psychiatrists because there at least has to be 2 that make that determination. And what they determined was he was incompetent to stand trial, and so he was given a course of medication because his evaluation indicated that during this course of medication that would calm him down, bring him back to earth, bring him to a person that we can work with, that he can go to court, he can understand the proceedings, and not be disruptive in court. So Mr. Redden, when you go back to that one, I just want to make the last point that he was at Lakes Crossing for 5 months. He was eventually found by the doctors on October 20th, 2023 to be competent to go ahead and proceed with trial. So exactly 5 months later. Go ahead now, sir. After he returned back to Justice Court, he was in front of Judge Jacinto. He had discussions with his attorney at that time, and they decided that he was going to go ahead and enter into a guilty plea with the state of Nevada. Again, now he's of right mind. He is able to discuss his case with his attorney. As you can see, there was no courtroom outbursts or anything like that. And so much so, the judge released him on November 1st, 2023. He was released from custody. Okay? He returns to back to court, and now this is district court. This is in front of Judge Holtis. And on December 6th, he has no extreme courtroom behavior. He goes ahead and the guilty plea agreement's read to him. He answers a myriad of questions and he pleads guilty to an attempt assault with a deadly weapon. The sentencing was scheduled for January 3rd, 2024. Next slide. What you're going to see through medical records, through the testimony of Dr. Paglini, Mr. Redden did not receive his medication that he had while he was here in Clark County Detention Center. What happened was he gets released and he's given a prescription. That prescription is supposed to be filled at the Mojave Health Center. He calls and you'll hear testimony from Karen Springer. Karen Springer is his foster mother that he stayed with during this time. They made several attempts at appointments, called, and attempted to get him in so he could take his medication. However, you'll see through the testimony, he does not get medication, and he doesn't get it for 2 months. So from November 1st to 2023 to January 3rd, 2024, a period of 60 days, he does not have his medication. That put him in that state where we saw the appropriate behavior. What you're seeing today, basically, he's under that medication that he had when he was in CCDC. And that's why he's displaying, good decorum, appropriate courtroom behavior. He's not going to wild out, and trust me, I'll tackle him if he tries to, do anything like that. But bottom line, that's not going to happen because he's medicated, he's calm, he understands what the proceedings are and what's going on right now. During this 60 days, Mr. Redden slipped back into his unstable mental state. The same mental state that he had when he was first arrested for assault with a deadly weapon and charged and eventually pled to attempted assault with a deadly weapon. Next. Then we have this unfortunate incident that happened on January 3rd, 2024. One thing I noticed, and I looked at this videotape several times from the very beginning to the very end. I know that all the parties involved. A simple question wasn't asked. And I'll explain later as to why it wasn't asked. But no one asked Mr. Redden, did you take your medication today? His attorney didn't ask, the prosecution didn't ask, nor Judge Holtis asked. I'm not saying this is anybody's fault. It simply wasn't done. So he comes into court and nobody knows what his real mental state is during that time. Nobody knows that for 60 days he's been having paranoid thoughts. Nobody knows that he's been staying at home, not going out into the public, and different other things that were discovered by Dr. Paglini that he'll discuss. Mr. Redden did not intend to kill Judge Holtis. The evidence will show that Judge Holtis, she hurt her head when she struck the wall that was directly behind her, similar to this wall. She also was hurt when she fell on the floor. You'll see pictures. She wasn't significantly bruised. She was bruised, but it wasn't significant bruises. And those were basically on the areas where she fell. She had no cut. She had no strangulation marks on her throat. There will be no evidence that anybody ever that saw Mr. Redden touch her throat. We'll have specific evidence of where his hands were placed right before he was pulled off of Judge Holtis. But again, his actions do not indicate that he was intending to kill Judge Holtis. And again, you always have to go back to intent. That is going to be the big question that you guys are going to have to deal with at closing. Did he have the intent to go ahead and kill? And we are going to submit that the evidence does not show there is any intent to kill Judge Holtis. Thank you.
Okay. Counsel approach.
All right, so the judge is now going to address with counsel the issue we had on Zoom, and she doesn't know how to bring it up. The issue we had on Zoom during the States Open was the same issue we had on Zoom during the Young Thug trial in the early days, like week 1, or maybe even day 1. And that was they provided a public link to Zoom. People could join, and through the court's own neglect, I'm going to blame them on this, they enabled people who use Zoom, blue jeans is what they call it, to activate their microphone and share their screen. The person who connected, instead of sharing their own personal camera, decided to share, as Amber puts it, let's see, how did Amber put this? I want to say this correctly so I don't misquote this. Upon listening, slowing down the playback, it was definitely something that sounded like someone breathing while they were running. Yeah, they decided to share a video that was not appropriate. That's what they put instead of their video. And it played over the court, just like a witness would if they were to appear over Zoom in court. And the judge and the clerks at first didn't know what was going on. And so it played and played and
Okay,
played.
ladies and gentlemen, the attorneys were, let's say, a lot more efficient than we anticipated. So we're going to go ahead and finish for the day. I need you back here at 1 o'clock. And remember, you're all like brides. We cannot get started until every one of you are here. So during this period of time, you are all admonished not to talk, converse among yourselves or with anyone else on any subject related to the trial. You're not to read, watch, or listen to any report of or commentary on the trial by any medium of information, including without limitation newspapers, television, the internet, and radio, or form or express any opinion on any subject related to the trial until the case is finally submitted to you. And again, no outside experiments, no visiting the scenes of any of the events that you've heard talked about.
Which is court.
Don't use your iPads to find out information about this case. Don't read the newspapers. Everything you will learn about in this courtroom. Have a good evening, and we will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
I'm collecting the notebooks.
All right, as they are exiting the courtroom, what a start to a crazy day. We've waited forever for this case to start, and now it's finally here. It's been wild already. We've had bunnies, we've had Superman, we've had brides. What was the last one? Let's see. I think it was a tough cookie. We had a tough cookie in here as well. We've had some crazy things coming out of this courtroom, and we expect more as we proceed. Why is this not working right? Upstream keyer. Why can I not put? Why does it put that on the screen instead of what I need? Let's see. Inputs. USK4 is going to be 3, right? Let's go back. Let's see what that is now. USK4 on air. Now you get everything. That's not right either. Okay, we'll figure it out. My switcher is acting up quite badly. It's shuffling things. It means when I try to switch, it does not work the way it should. But the defendant is getting ready to leave court.
Has left the courtroom, and you may be seated. Norma, what exactly, do you know what happened?
I don't know what happened, but when I switched to Zoom, there was a very improper video.
Okay. Counsel, I mean, I want to be able to give the public access to the Zoom and all that. I'm just not, we've called IT about this?
I reported it, yes.
Okay. Never had this happen before, but apparently something very inappropriate went on the Zoom system. We cannot have that. And so anybody that wants to see this, definitely you might want to consider being inside the courtroom for that. And then we'll see what we can do on our end so it doesn't happen again. And I apologize again to you for that interruption.
Just for the record, at no point was that broadcast visually to the jury. Although it was audible, we couldn't really tell what it was, in my opinion. But visually, it was not in any way broadcast to the jury.
Yeah, I didn't think that it was either. So, no, she was the only one. I didn't see it on any of my screens.
Yeah, it only came up on Zoom, which I only had access to it.
So
Okay.
if anybody was
All
filming
right, but
their
anyway,
Zoom,
we will try and find out what happened there. Okay. Okay, schedule 1 o'clock tomorrow. We'll have a full day on Friday, half a day on Monday, half a day Tuesday, half a day Wednesday, if we get into Wednesday. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
And start thinking about those jury instructions. Of course, the most important document is the verdict form that we will need to get through. If you guys could agree to as many jury instructions as possible, that will make our life a lot easier. Okay? Anything else that we need to take care of?
I don't think so, Your Honor.
Okay? All right. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
and with that, we are done with court. The judge giving the explanation of exactly what happened. Yeah. The verdict form is the most important. I think the jury instructions are pretty far up there as well. So no mistrial. The defense lawyer's like, I couldn't tell what was happening in the video. Yeah, I'm not going to go back and replay it. It's trust me, it's clipped. I think Thal already clipped it. It's already going to be all over on on social media if you want to re-listen or watch to what happened in there. I imagine somebody probably has the recording as he leaves court. They're making him take his jacket off. It's like, oh, you don't get to keep that. You gotta strip down. Lawyers taking the tie and everything. No ties, no jackets. He's like, I was just getting comfy. All right, they're all done. Let's see. Downstream keyer. 2. That's not it. 1. Okay. Why is my chat not showing up on screen anymore? Why is it doing this instead of Luma? Did I hit the wrong button? Boom. Okay, I hit the wrong button. That's why I broke it. I broke it and then I fixed it, so we're good. Yes, this is in Las Vegas. We need X-rated on the thumbnail because we've got now the Chippendale session of court is happening now. No naughtiness on the thumbnail. I will show you. As far as the thumbnail, we are making great progress. So just 1 second here. Let's bring that. Need another window. You can never have enough windows. Windows are like real estate. You always can need more, and I do. All right, so if you think court has not been interesting thus far, clearly you need to see this. This is our thumbnail thus far on things that have happened so far in court. We have crime scenes. Let me fix a couple things, like pictures like this. I can edit that image and I can remove the background, and it looks much better. And this guy, we'll remove the background here as well. Edit that image. Oh, edit this image. Where is it? Come on. That way it makes it look like they're actually in court. Remove that background. I'm a whiz with Photoshop. I'm a whiz. The jury are all brides. I see that they're here. We've got the Superman cape. Everything's a work in progress. But I think this 4 feet needs to be a little smaller, like this, like that. What do you think? I don't know. I'm not one in charge. We have the Zoom bomb right here coming in. We have the seal of the state of New Mexico, only because we can't find a Nevada one yet. So we're borrowing New Mexico's until Nevada's seal shows up. This guy, get rid of his background as well. There we go. All right. Anyway, it's looking fabulous. You guys are doing a great job. So I appreciate all your hard work on this one. Where's the done button? I click done. Let's shrink that down. Boom. Okay. So we'll keep an eye on this as we'll use this thumbnail. So when you look for the trial tomorrow, which starts at 1 o'clock, which is basically afternoon session, we'll use that thumbnail. All right. What a trial. What a trial. Thought the court has access to lock everyone's blue jeans connections. They should. If it's anything like Zoom, they should be able to lock it so nobody else can just blurt out whatever they want on court. It's never happened to this judge before. Apparently, she can't say that again. Please put that on the thumbnail. Showed you the thumbnail. Let's see, 3.7 seconds. We need a stopwatch with that. Why is all the jury brides? Because the court can't start without them, apparently. Apparently the bride has to be there for the wedding. It was new rule. I didn't know that. It stands to reason, but why is court so late in the day? They have something in the morning, a pre-existing schedule that ties them up in the morning, and then in the afternoon at 1 o'clock they're going to start. Full day on Friday. That's what I heard. So tomorrow's Thursday. Thursday's podcast day. So we're going to go straight from court to podcast. So that'll be fun tomorrow. The state attorney seemed really affected. I think she was nervous. I think it was just nerves. have a hard time walking around, breathing. Pushed through. I think she did an okay job, a good job. It wasn't like the gripping sort of Mr. Hamner closing type quality that we got in this Open, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good. She got the important points in. Thank you, mods, for all your work today. Thank you. I don't know what time that is, unfortunately, so I'm not sure I'll make it. Janet Ray, that's going to be 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Mountain, noon. No, wait. They're Pacific, aren't they? Oh, man, that's forever. 1 o'clock Pacific means 2 o'clock Mountain, 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern. That is a very, very late start. Did you go to your friend's movie premiere? Yes, everyone showed up in like tuxedos, and I wore shorts and a T-shirt. This shirt. 4 p.m. Eastern, so it's a very late start. I think Blue Jeans is like a version of Zoom that's used for court. They refer to it as Zoom, so it must be similar. 3 Central, 4 Eastern, 2 Mountain, 1 Pacific is the start time for court tomorrow. The defendant is quite medicated. Medicated so much so that he's not in cuffs. He's not shackled, although he might have a shock device. Blue Jeans is a streaming service like WebEx. All right. With that said, we are done for the day. I don't know where Mrs. RA is. I'm hoping she's bringing home some food. So that's my hope. I might go out. The weather is still nice, as we can see people are out enjoying the park. So I might go out and do a little metal detect and see if the other metal detectorist left me any goodies. So we'll see. No shock device. They just have kryptonite. Debbie Joe, I like that. That is funny. I have to watch court on replay tomorrow to work. Britta, I apologize for that. We'll miss you. Won't be the same without you here. But with that said, let's wrap it up for the day. We've had a fun day of court watching and now a crazy trial, which has gotten spicier than I thought it would be. And I guess it's not done. The counter's up to 12. I'm going to change it from the leap day counter to the court hopping counter, which I think is a little more appropriate. Thanks to you, Mathis, for that suggestion. It's going to be court hopping tomorrow. Very short day in this court. Vegas trails suck. Yes, everyone needs to get back to the casinos, Virginia. You can't win if you don't play. So they're all headed back to the Bellagio. We'll see you guys in the morning. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again. Tomorrow morning, we'll be court hopping and then watching day 2 of the Judge Jumper, the Court Hopper, Superman style, Deobra Redden in Las Vegas. Very subdued Superman. Kryptonite in his pocket, I'm sure. So, guys, we'll do that tomorrow. Have a absolutely great day. Do all the things I told you, and none of the things I didn't. Does that work? I'm stalling because I have to switch a media thing over. There we go. All right, now we're ready. 2 p.m. tomorrow start. We're going to be live with court hopping before that, Krista. But 2 p.m. tomorrow Mountain Time is the start for court. Another short day tomorrow. It'll go right up to the podcast, so you can do a double header. Stay up all night if you're in the East Coast or across the ocean. So, thank you all. Have a good one. We'll see you on tomorrow. Bye-bye.